World Series, with Baltimore leading Cincinnati 3 games to 1. This is Jim Simpson with Jim McIntyre. And today's 5th game, whether or not it will be started on time or played at all, has been the subject for most discussions this morning. It has been raining in the Baltimore area. They have taken off the tarp from the infield and are even now just rolling it up. So we anticipate a start and hopefully a completion of today's 5th game, which is brought to you by the Gillette Company, makers of Platinum Plus Double Edge or Injector, for the shave you've always wanted and more. Chrysler Corporation, extra care and engineering. Host today, your local Chrysler Plymouth dealer. Makers of STP oil treatment and STP gas treatment. Retail Clerks International Association, dedicated exclusively to the interest of store workers. And by the makers of Winston, Salem, and Camel cigarettes. Mike Cuellar, 24-game winner during the regular season, who lasted only 2 1/3 innings in the 2nd game of the World Series, will start today for Baltimore, trying to end this World Series right here and now. For Cincinnati, expected to start today is Jim Merritt, who will take his warm-ups, trying to win this 5th series game. Merritt, a 20-game winner during the regular season, has been troubled with arm problems. Jim McIntyre will have more on that in a moment. Both Merritt and Cuellar are left-handers. This broadcast is authorized under broadcast rights granted by the Commissioner of Baseball solely for the entertainment of our listening audience. In any publication, rebroadcast, or other use of the descriptions and accounts of the game without the express consent of the Commissioner of Baseball is prohibited. Now, once again, welcome back to our NBC broadcast booth, the voice of the Cincinnati Reds, Jim McIntyre. Jim?
Thank you, Jim Simpson. Well, you have to say, whether you like it or not, I think both managers are taking somewhat of a risk. If you can call starting a 24-game winner for Baltimore, Earl Weaver, or a 20-game winner, Jim Merritt, by Sparky Anderson, risks. But I say risk only because Cuellar, the last couple of outings, has not been his usual self, and he has a little bit of a sore arm. Of course, we all know that Jim Merritt did hurt his elbow early in September, on September the 8th, actually, out in San Francisco. And after throwing day before yesterday in the bullpen, he told manager Sparky Anderson of Cincinnati that he felt he was about 90% ready to pitch, that he'd be available yesterday to relieve or start today, providing the Reds did win yesterday's game, which they did, thanks to the heroics of first baseman Lee May. Merritt did win a playoff game against the Pittsburgh Pirates a week ago last Sunday. He pitched 5 1/3 innings, only allowed 3 hits and 1 run, but his elbow began to swell up on him, and that's why he was taken out of that game. But only one other outing since he hurt his elbow September the 8th, and that was on the 26th of September against the Dodgers in Cincinnati. He pitched 3 innings in that game, allowed 4 hits and 1 run, was not involved in a decision, but he's pitched very sparingly since then. Merritt at the present time is warming up out of the Cincinnati bullpen in right center field. If Jim Merritt is able to pitch, we understand that he will warm up and then tell Sparky Anderson whether he will be able to pitch or not. If he cannot pitch, Sparky says he will go with 20-year-old rookie right-hander Milt Wilcox. Of course, the Cincinnati Reds would like to prove they can spit in the eye of the traditionalist who always goes along with the record book. And the Orioles say they're going to end the series without returning to Cincinnati. They'd like to do it right here, right now, today. During series history, the Orioles have been somewhat of a streak club. They won 5 in a row. They beat the Dodgers 4 games to none in 1966. And, of course, they won the first game last year against New York. Lost 4 in a row to the Mets. Then they won the first 3 in this one. And the Reds think they have started them the other way, and they got them started, they think, yesterday. Well, of course, that remains to be seen. I can tell you this, that Earl Weaver has made several changes in his batting order and lineup with a left-hander starting against his club. Merritt being the first left-hander to start. The ground crew didn't have too much to do in the infield, that is, the manicure of the field. They did have it covered since it started to rain early this morning. There was one period of pretty very hard showers here in the Baltimore area. But the weatherman said it would clear about 12:30, and by golly, it's beginning to clear overhead right now. So, Jim, as I said the other day, I still think the weatherman is a baseball fan.
Has to be, Jim. And as you mentioned, Mike Cuellar, who's warming up, I'll point out something if I may jump in here. Cuellar, left-hander, has many superstitions. He must pick up the baseball. Nobody hands him his glove. And as he warms up, Jim Fry, a coach, must warm him up. Ellie Hendricks, who is his catcher and the only one who can warm him up once the game gets underway. He doesn't want a utility man out there. Ellie Hendricks must stand as though he's in the batter's box on the left-hand side and face Cuellar. Mike insists on all of these things and admits he's superstitious.
I can't think of any superstition Jim Merritt has, but I'll tell you this. His earned run average, better than 4 on the season, would indicate that the Cincinnati Reds back him up considerably with a lot of hits and a lot of runs. I'll say this, too. The 3 of the first 4 games have really been box office games. 1-run contests, 4-3, 6-5 Baltimore, and yesterday 6-5 Cincinnati. And only the first game played here in Baltimore on Wednesday, or I should say on Tuesday, was what you would call a laugher, and that was only a laugher thanks to the bat of Dave McNally with the Grand Slam home run, the first Grand Slam in World Series history by a pitcher. That was a 9-3 game, of course. Let's take a look at the starting lineups and batting orders. First of all, for the Cincinnati Reds, leading off again today, as he did yesterday, is Bobby Tolan in center field. Tolan in center. Bobby has hit safely in each of the first 4 games. Batting second and playing right field is Pete Rose. And today, unlike the first 4 games, the teams are not coming out and lining up along the first or third baseline because of the damp playing conditions. Hitting third in the Reds' batting order and playing at third base today is Tony Perez. So far, in the first 4 games, Tony has had just 1 hit in 14 times at bat. That's a little bit of a surprise because Tony led the Cincinnati Reds in batting on the season with a .317 average, including 40 home runs and 129 runs batted in. Johnny Bench will again be behind the plate and bat cleanup. And John has only had 3 hits and 15 times at bat, although he led the majors in homers and runs batted in. So he has been a little bit of a disappointment. Lee May has had a hit in every game and has just been about all the Big Red Machine's offense. He's had 6 hits and 14 times at bat, including 2 homers, and he's batted in 8 Cincinnati runs. Lee will back first and play first base. In left field with Mike Cuellar going is Al McRae. McRae is 4 for 8 in the series, having a fine time. It'll be Tommy Helms at second base batting 7th. Dave Concepcion, the rookie Venezuelan shortstop, batting 8th. And Jim Merritt on the mound, who had a 20-12 record on the season, and as I said, a 4.08 earned run average. For the Baltimore Orioles, and again we point out Earl Weaver has made a change, Mark Melanger will lead off at shortstop. Batting second in center field is Paul Blair. Now hitting third today in the batting order, playing in right field, is Frank Robinson. Boog Powell has been dropped from the number 3 spot to the cleanup spot in the batting order at first base, batting 4th. In left field today is Merv Rettenmund. Rettenmund in left field with a left-hander start. At third base, Mr. Third Base, Brooks Robinson, batting 6th. Hitting 7th at second base, Davy Johnson. The catcher will bat 8th, that's Andy Etchebarren. And Mike Cuellar, 24 and 8, will be on the mound. Cuellar started the second game of the series at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. Went 2 1/3 innings, allowed 4 runs, only 1 of which was earned, and 4 hits, walked 1, and struck out 1. He was relieved by Tom Phoebus, who would start today if Cuellar could not start. And Phoebus only pitched an inning and 2/3 and got credit for the victory in that 6-5 Baltimore uprising in the 5th inning while Phoebus was the pitcher of record. Cuellar, 24 and 8 on the year with a .356 earned run average. umpires, the men in blue, are just now approaching home plate for the traditional exchange of lineup cards. And they are Billy Williams of the National League at the home plate, Emmett Ashford of the American League at first, Ken Burkhardt of the National League at second, John Flaherty, American League third base. Down the left field line, Tony Vincent of the National League, and on the right field foul stripe, Bob Stewart of the American League. Pete Rose, the Reds team captain, strolling up to home plate, and here comes Earl Weaver of the Baltimore Orioles, and we'll get the exchange of the lineup cards. The color guard is marching out into short center field, and in just a few minutes, the First Army Band from Fort Meade, Maryland, will play the Star Spangled Banner. Jim, you are in a little bit of a bind having football to cover on Sunday if there is no more baseball. I imagine your bag is bulging a little bit.
It certainly is, Jim McIntyre, but of course with the World Series, everybody wants to see this. Well, you hate to give up on baseball, and you hate to give up on the excitement that only the World Series can bring you. So even though it is 3 games to 1 and we do not root, you kind of like to see it go on. But of course, for the Baltimore Orioles, their dressing room yesterday afternoon was very quiet. It was as though they had lost the series. Last year, you'll recall, they won the first game against the New York Mets right here and then lost the last 4 in a row to the New York Mets. They came into the 1970 World Series thinking about it all winter and all summer long. They jumped out to the 3 games to none lead over Cincinnati. They were convinced that they were going to take it in 4, and they were convinced as late as at the end of 7 innings when they led 5-3. The dramatic 3-run home run by Lee May on the first pitch, a fastball on the outside corner of the plate from Eddie Watt, ended that and ended their hopes of a 4-game sweep. And, well, we'll see. As Sparky Anderson said, as Jim pointed out, the Reds feel they've turned it around the other way. The momentum of the Baltimore Orioles, who had gone 17 straight games without a loss, now they've lost, and Anderson says we've turned it around. The pressure is on them. This from the manager of Cincinnati, who also knows he's got to win 3 more in a row to take the championship.
The Reds, as you point out, Jim Simpson, are convinced that if they can win today and take the Orioles back to Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, that they indeed will win the World Championship in 1970. The skies overhead are beginning to break up. They've turned on the lights here at Memorial Stadium because of the heavy overcast. But we point out again that the dark clouds that prevailed all morning have begun to break up. The umpires break up the huddle at home plate and take their respective positions. And Bobby Tolan is walking out to the on-deck circle. I'm not sure there will be a traditional first ball tossing ceremony today because of the weather conditions. Still a little damp around the edges on the warning track here at Memorial Stadium. But today's game will be played. We'll get underway at least. And we're certainly hoping it will be played. I know you are too. The Reds feel again today that they'll use anybody they have to in order to win this game because, of course, they still have their backs to the wall. 1 more loss and they're out of it. Nobody has ever lost the first 3 games and came on to win. The Reds feel that they have been a peculiar club all year. They set a team record for victories with 102 wins, and they won 70 of their first 100 games. So they feel they can do it. We'll wait to see. All right, now the crowd has been asked to stand. The first U.S. Army Band plays our national anthem.
Brought to you in part by Saratoga Ginger Ale. It's like opening a bottle of sunshine. WGY, Schenectady, New York.
Along with Jim Simpson, this is Jim McIntyre at Baltimore's Memorial Stadium. We're getting set for the fifth game of the 1970 World Series. The Orioles lead it 3 games to 1. And we're looking around at the crowd. I don't think we'll have as many people as we did yesterday. The official attendance yesterday, 53,007. And it has started to sprinkle rain right now. We see some umbrellas popping up down below us. We'll be back with the start of today's fifth game in just 1 minute. The retail store employees unions are well known for their achievements on behalf of more than 600,000 members. Their union agreements with employers provide for good wages, liberal hospitalization, and retirement plans. They vote on their union agreements by secret ballot. The Retail Clerks Unions urges all Americans to cast their secret ballot on November 3rd. This message from the Retail Store Employees Union in your community, chartered by the Retail Clerks International Association, Washington, D.C. 20006.
Remember this? Gillette's good old look sharp, feel sharp, be sharp. Well, times have changed, and so have razor blades. Today, Gillette Platinum Plus blades have revolutionized shaving with a platinum smooth edge that shaves you smoother, closer, and with even more comfort. Hard to believe? Try Gillette Platinum Plus double edge or injector blades in your razor. Find out what it really means to look sharp, feel sharp, and be sharp. Platinum Plus, Gillette's best blade.
Well, the Baltimore Orioles are out on the field. Cuellar taking his warm-up tosses from the mound. Boog Powell is at first base. Dave Johnson at second. Mark Belanger at short. Brooks Robinson at third base. Merv Rettenman in left field. Paul Blair in center. Frank Robinson in right. Andy Etchebarren behind the plate. And Mike Cuellar loosening up on the mound, anxious to come back in this 1970 World Series and pick up the clinching victory. And to bring you the action in today's fifth game, first part of the game, it's my pleasure to bring you NBC's Jim Simpson.
Thank you, Jim McIntyre. Bobby Tolan, left-handed batter, strides in, and this fifth game of the 1970 World Series will start under a light rainfall. As Jim told you, the clouds are breaking up, but showers are in the area and expected to be in the area through tomorrow. But this is the World Series, and the fifth game is underway. Baltimore leads 3 games to 1. Cuellar, 24-game winner during the regular season, for 2 1/3 innings on Sunday, gave up 4 runs. 3 of those were unearned, is ready to pitch to Tolan, a good hitter against left-handed pitchers. Foul to the screen. Now, Cuellar, of course, throws the screwball, 2 different kinds. He also has several different kinds of curves, plus the fastball and slider. So he's got about 6 pitches he can go with, and we'll mix them up. To a right-handed batter, Cuellar being a left-handed pitcher, a screwball will run down and away from the batter. Back as Tolan looks to bunt, runs up the line, and it's a called strike. It's strike 2 to Bobby Tolan. First man up in this fifth game. The umbrellas are up, and the lights are on here at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore. They play Tolan slightly toward right. Cuellar staring into his catcher, Ellie Hendricks. Goes outside and low, it's 1-2. Jim Merritt has just now stopped warming up and is just putting on his jacket out in the bullpen for Cincinnati. Questionable, as Jim said, whether or not he will start today, but he is putting on his jacket. They are back with a 1-2 pitch, swing and a miss, strike 3. Tolan strikes out. A breaking pitch got Bobby. Here is Pete Rose hitting at 250. 1 home run in this series, 2 RBIs, and the captain of the Cincinnati Reds, who strides today to the right side of the plate as Rose is a switch hitter and will bat right-handed against the left-handed Mike Cuellar. Rose stands in, Cuellar ready. The rain continues to fall. Breaking pitches outside ball 1. Now, if today's game should become a tie, and then is called off because of rain, something rather unusual would happen, and I'll tell you what it is in just a moment. Ball 1 pitch from Cuellar, outside it is ball 2. It would be a suspended game. Tomorrow would be an off day. They would go on and play the 6th and 7th games in Cincinnati. And if Cincinnati tied it up, then they would come back to Baltimore and start all over again. Today's game would be washed out entirely. 2 balls, no strikes to Rose. This is a breaking pitch that's right over the knees. 2 balls, 1 strike. On deck is Tony Perez, who started things off in the 8th inning yesterday, drawing a base on balls after having a 2-strike count on him. Setting it up for Bench's single, and Lee Mays' 3-run home run. 2-1 pitch is fouled out, a play to the right. It is 2 balls, 2 strikes to Rose. So conceivably, if it were a tie today and were called off and Cincinnati did win the next 2 at Cincinnati, you could take today's game and throw it all out instead of starting from the point of suspension. Interesting. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. Cuellar is ready. Fastball, and it's out to right field. On the run is Frank Robinson. Will let it down in front of him. Rose goes around as Robinson fumbles the ball. Dives head first into second base. Question is whether or not Pete might have made it anyway, because he had decided as he went around first base to continue on. It is a hit, apparently all the way, says the scoreboard. 2 bases. Rose going to the opposite field. The ball died very quickly in this heavy air, and as Robinson went to pick it up, he fumbled it, but Pete had already decided to head for second and did. He made a headlong slide, even though it was not necessary, but of course he wasn't watching the ball. So now Rose is down at second. Tony Perez, a right-handed batter, with 1 hit and 14 tries. But a good home run man is up and takes a pitch on the outside corner, strike 1. During the regular season, Tony Perez hit 40 home runs at 129 RBIs, has had a disappointing series. They are ready. Rose off 5 or 6 steps at second base. Mike looks back. Pitching from the stretch is outside with the next pitch, and it's 1-1. Ball game started in a drizzle. Cullen struck out on a breaking pitch. Rose went to the opposite field with a fastball. Lined a double to right. Perez is up with a count of 1 ball, 1 strike, and kneeling on deck is Johnny Bench. We are ready. Ball is fouled out a play to the right. Perez looked as though he wanted to offer, then held up and fouled the ball off to the right. As the ball came in on him, and he was simply ducking to get out of the way at the last minute. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Perez's uniform sliding through that mud is, well, it's a mess is what it is. The front of it. Or rather, Rose. There's a foul at the plate. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Pete, you know why, as you have heard many times before, that he even runs out bases on balls. Well, imagine Pete Rose going around first base trying for a double with a play right in front of Frank Robinson, who has a fine arm. He was really flying. They are with the new baseball. Looks back, throws, fastball. It's fouled to the screen right up under us. There is not an exaggerated shift on against the pull hitter Perez, but Davy Johnson is over close to second base. Paul Blair is around to the left in center, and Merv Retman closer to the line in left. Again, the 1-2 count. 1 out. Here's the pitch, and it's low. It's like a screwball as it ran out and away from Perez. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Most of the umbrellas now have come down, so apparently we can see water dripping off the barrier over our heads in the stadium. Apparently the rain has stopped. Cuellar throws again and just misses. Inside, and it is 3-2. Perez yesterday, remember, drew the walk being down 0-2, and then drew the walk to start the 8th inning rounder that won the ball game. Here he was 1-2, fouled a couple of pitches off, and now Cuellar has missed twice. And now must come in with a pitch on 3 balls, 2 strikes. Ready, throws, ball is lined to left field. Retman is there, not too deep, now comes in a little bit and one-hands it and throws to the cutoff man, Belanger, on a line, and Rose stays at second base. And here is Johnny Bench, hitting 200. 1 home run, 2 RBIs, and the feeling is Johnny Bench will become the youngest man ever to have won the Most Valuable Player award. The voting took place the Friday before the league championship. Hasn't been revealed yet, but I guess for them, the press have been polling each other saying, whom did you vote for? 2 outs, Rose on at second. First inning, no score. 5th game of the World Series. Baltimore leads in games 3-1. We are ready to face Johnny Bench, right-handed batter. Dead pull hitter. Swing. On a breaking pitch. Strike. For Bench, Johnson is not as close to second base as he played Perez, but they're still pulled around. There's a ball lined over his head. In the right field, Robinson there, throws around, and will score. Cincinnati leads 1-0 on the base hit by Johnny Bench. And that will bring up Lee May, who has been Mr. Everything, and as we look at his batting average, .429, 2 home runs, and 8 RBIs to lead everybody in the series, we wonder what his batting average will be and what his RBI total would be were it not for Brooks Robinson at third base, who has made a practice of robbing him. 2 outs, Bench on at first base, and they've got activity out on the Baltimore bullpen. Hit on the fist, deep, back goes Redmond to the wall and left, looks up, off the wall, around second on the way to third is the runner Johnny Bench, and he holds at third, as in at second with a double is Lee May. But I want to tell you, if that ball had been out a little bit more over the plate, May would have pulled that for a 2-run home run. Nearly jammed, and very quickly George Bamberger, the pitching coach, walks out to talk to Mike Cuellar, and they've got activity. Looks like a right-hander going in the bullpen down there for Baltimore. Baltimore has Tom Phoebus, who might have started today's game, were Cuellar not ready, warming up already. So Tolan, as Bamberger now prepares to leave the mound, Tolan struck out swinging. He rose at a fastball to right for a double. Perez fly to short left. Johnny Bench followed with a single to right, going to the opposite field, and we said he's a dead pull hitter, but he went to the opposite field, driving in Rose with the first run, and Lee May hit the first pitch and doubled off the left field wall. Bench stopping at third. 2 out Hal McRae hitting .500. Platoon with Bernie Carbo out in left field, right-handed batter, steps in. We are ready to throw to Hal McRae. Now back to the screen. 2 out, first base open. Tommy Helms on deck. 1-0 the score.
Jim, I think Cuellar has thrown quite a few screwballs in this first inning already, and that pitch may be the one that's giving his elbow a little trouble.
Cuellar looks. Now throws off the corner, and again looks like the screwball that Jim was talking about as it ran down and away from Hal McRae. For McRae, Blair is in a more pronounced pull in center field than he was for Perez or Bench. Back with a fastball, and look out, Alex Grammas, the coach at third base, went right between his legs as he skipped out of the way in the coaching box. Foul. It's 1 ball, 2 strikes to McRae. 1-0 the score. 3 base hits off Mike Cuellar, 24-game winner, who only lasted 2 1/3 innings in Cincinnati on Sunday. Ready to throw. Ball is hit to center field, and Blair is pulled over toward left, so this will go by him, and 2 runs will score. McRae has speed. Blair up with the ball off the wall. McRae will stop at second. It is 3-0 Cincinnati. Blair was pulled to the left, not playing straightaway center, and the ball went to right center field. It rolled all the way to the wall.
Jim, McRae stumbled as he rounded first and got about a third of the way down to second base, or else he might have tried for 3. As you pointed out, he can run, has pretty good speed, and might have tried for a triple had he not stumbled. As it is, he's at second base. Tommy Helms is going to be the batter, and out at the mound, Etchebarren, I have to think Earl Weaver might pop out of that dugout anytime.
Mike Cuellar gave up 3 runs in the second game of the World Series in the first inning. But those, remember, were all unearned. He's being tagged here, and there have been no base hits that you can say, well, that one had eyes or that one just fell in. They have been line driving their base hits off Mike Cuellar. The Rays in scoring position, the potential 4th run. Helms, right-handed batter, swings on the first pitch, ground ball to Belanger. Up with it on the short hop, throws on to first base, and Cuellar and the Orioles are out of the inning. But 3-run score on a total of 4 hits. No errors, 1 left. As we go to the last of the first, Cincinnati already leads 3-0.
You impatient for the morning, and you must have something new. Chrysler Plymouth, coming through. There's a little bit of magic in a car that's spanking new, and we put it all together just for you. This is Lewis coming through with Chrysler Plymouth. Be sure to see that great new Plymouth Sebring. Take it from Satchmo, it's the greatest. Chrysler Plymouth coming through.
For 1971, Chrysler Plymouth offers more kinds of new cars than anyone else in the business. Why not let a Chrysler or a Plymouth come through for you? Well, you have to wonder if Mr. Cuellar is going to be around very long. Tom Phoebus is continuing to throw in the Baltimore bullpen. And as we mentioned before the game, perhaps both managers are running somewhat of a risk. Jim Merritt, who's had elbow problems, is out at the mound, beginning to warm up to start the last half of the first inning. Setting the Reds for you defensively. At first base, Lee May. At second base, Tommy Helms. Davey Concepcion at shortstop. Tony Perez, third base. With Hal McRae in left. Bobby Tolan in center, and Pete Rose in right. Behind the plate, Johnny Bench and left-hander Jim Merritt, who was a 20-game winner, on the mound. And you have to think that Jim's going to try to let it out all the way here in the first inning, and then we'll have to see how his elbow responds. 3-0, the Reds are leading as we come to the last half of the first inning, Game 5. The Orioles lead it 3-1. And for the bird's eye view, bottom half of inning number 1, here again, Jim Simpson.
Thank you, Jim. Mark Belanger, Paul Blair, Frank Robinson to lead it off against Jim Merritt. Phoebus has now stopped warming up out in the bullpen for Baltimore. And as we look around, because as we said, we are under an abutment here in the press box at Baltimore, and water drips down off that abutment. Sometimes we feel it's raining, sometimes we don't know if it is or not. So as we look down, we do see some umbrellas up. Some, not a lot. So apparently it's still drizzling. Belanger is only 1 for 14 in the series, hitting 0-71, and Cincinnati has a 3-0 lead. Remember, the Reds had a 3-0 lead in the first game and a 4-0 lead in the second game and lost both. The way these two ball clubs hit, it's not over yet. Merritt ready, left-handed throws, and the ball is fouled off to the left. Perez starts after it and then sees it's going to drift very deep off third base into the seats. Paul Blair is on deck. Merritt, like some of your other stars around the major leagues, has been around baseball for a long while in that he was a clubhouse boy for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Well, he has realized his dream. Merritt ready, tall left-hander throws. Called strike. Belanger ran his hands up the bat as if to bunt, as Perez was rather deep at third base. Merritt, while with Minnesota, had a 4-6 record against the Orioles. Of course, he came over to Cincinnati in that trade for Leo Cardenas, who now plays shortstop for Minnesota. Fine trade for both clubs. Belanger waits, takes inside and low. It's 2-1. The ball's 1 strike to Belanger, the leadoff batter for Baltimore in the last of the first. Al McRae doubled in 2 runs in that first inning. Johnny Bench singled in 1. There's a line drive almost grabbed by Billy Hunter, but he happens to be the coach at third base for Baltimore, so it wouldn't have counted. George Stoller, the coach over at first base. Belanger back in, has a closed stance, right-handed batter. When he hits a home run, Baltimore goes into fake swoons. This one is popped up, left side, Perez in foul territory. Waiting there right alongside of him is Dave Concepcion, the shortstop, and it's 1 out. Perez makes the put out. Here's Paul Blair hitting at 400, 2 RBIs, 3 runs scored, right-handed batter. He mains at first for Cincinnati, Tommy Helms at second, Dave Concepcion, the shortstop, Tony Perez at third, Hal McRae in left, Bobby Tolan in center, Pete Rose in right, Johnny Bench the catcher, and Jim Merritt, 20-game winner, today's starter for the Reds, throwing to Blair, and it's lined foul down the left field line. Strike one. Rained very heavily this morning, and then about 12:31, about a half an hour before the game was scheduled to start, they started taking the tarp off, and then as the game began, it began to drizzle again. Merritt is back inside and low. It's 1-1 to Blair. And as we said, apparently it is still drizzling a little bit now. Cincinnati wins today, tomorrow travel day, and they resume with a 6th game as a fastball high and away. And it's 2-1 to Blair. They resume with the 6th game on Saturday in Cincinnati.
Jim, that pitch there, that fastball to Blair, is the hardest Merritt has thrown it so far.
2 balls, 1 strike. Back with a breaking pitch. There's the bunt down the third base line, waiting for it to roll foul as Perez, and then gloves it as it does after going about 60 feet from home plate. And Blair, who has fine speed, is way down the line and is just now walking back past first base, trying to butt his way on. 2-2, the count. 3-0, the score, Cincinnati. Lights have been on since the start of the game. They play Blair, who has World Series home runs to his credit, swung around to left. Blair won a game with a home run in 1966 when the Orioles swept the Los Angeles Dodgers in 4. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Merritt ready, Blair ready. Here's the pitch, and this one is lined into left field. In quickly is Hal McRae, who can run, fires for the catch, and he is safe. He dropped it, they say. But what? You couldn't tell from here, but down the left field line, National League umpire Tony Benson ran clear out near McRae and called the play. So Blair is safe, and Frank Robinson comes up. Robinson, 1 home run, 2 RBIs, hitting .235 in the series. Right-handed batter, as now he gets to the tower of Baltimore, and the Orioles trail 3-0. 1 out, last of the first inning with Blair on at first base. Robinson has struck out 4 times in this series, and every time he has been looking at a fastball. And for Frank, well, what do you think? They play way around to the left and very deep. Robinson had a hit and run single for his first hit of the series that went to right, perfectly placed. Merritt ready, throws a breaking pitch that's inside and low to Robinson, ball 1. Blair has speed at first base. Big Boog Powell, who was shut out yesterday, did draw a walk and score, standing on deck. Merritt ready to throw again. This one is a breaking pitch that gets the inside corner. Robinson looks away from plate umpire Billy Williams of the National League. 1 ball, 1 strike. It's another one of those low pitches that the National League pitchers get, whereas the American League pitchers get the strikes up high. Outside and high with the fastball, Merritt, 2-1. We pointed out before why it is. The National League umpire leans over that left shoulder of the catcher and is way down low with the catcher watching. Can call those low strikes, whereas an American League umpire looks over his head directly and can see those up around the letters, but has difficulty looking down low. 2 balls, 1 strike. This is the fastball that catches the outside corner, strike 2. 2-2 to Robinson. Merritt, who wanted desperately to pitch in this series, is back with a breaking pitch fouled at the plate. And Sparky Anderson, before the series began, if you talked to Sparky, was saying, no chance. We would like him, and Merritt kept warming up. He warmed up that first day down the right field line in Cincinnati and said that he was throwing pretty well and Cincinnati's line was, no, he'll never make it. But Jim vowed that he would be in the World Series, and here he is. And he's leading 3-0 in the last of the first. Ready with a 2-2 pitch, and it's low. It's 3-2. Now Merritt finds himself in the same kind of situation that Mike Cuellar was in. That is, 1 out, 1 man on, and a 3-2 count with a fellow that can park it in the seats. Cuellar was dealing with Perez. Merritt is dealing with Frank Robinson. Jim Merritt ready. Throws, comes back, long drive, deep to left field, looking up. Home run, 3-2. Out here. Here's Boog Powell takes a strike at the knee. Wayne Granger is up and drawing now. So Baltimore's bullpen was going in their half of the first. When Cincinnati scored 3 times, and now the Reds bullpen is going because the Orioles have scored twice. It's going to be some series game. Breaking pitches outside. It's 1-1 to Boog Powell, who is hitting .250 but has 4 RBIs and 2 home runs. Is on deck. We have 1 out, nobody on. A swing around to the right, of course, for Powell, but he has power to all fields and hits this one to center field. In quickly comes Tolan. He has great speed. Out goes Concepcion and makes quite a catch. Running away from the plate, put it out in his glove hand and right in front of Tolan. Made the good running catch on Boog Powell's high pop. A 322 hitter during the regular season. In his second series appearance, he was in yesterday, reached on an error, so he is 0 for 1. Frank Robinson, his home run made it 3-2. That's his 6th home run in World Series play, most among any active Major League players. Retman, right-handed batter, takes a breaking ball down low from Jim Merritt. It's ball 1. Well, the 3-2 pitch to Robinson from Merritt was just too good for Frank, and not so good for Merritt. Ready again, fastball line, but it is pulled foul. And I want to tell you, Mr. Retman really got around on that ball. Merv has excellent power, had 18 home runs during the regular season. They say about Earl Weaver and Baltimore, not only does Weaver have a great starting lineup, but look down that bench with Merv Retman, Kurt Moulton, one of the hottest pinch hitters in baseball. Young Terry Crowley outside with the pitch is Merritt. 2 balls, 1 strike to Merv Retman. They play him to pull. Merritt back on 2-1 breaking pitch, and he swings on it and pops it up to the left side. Perez is there. He is waved off by Concepcion, who makes his 2nd consecutive out and the 3rd of the inning. But 2-run score on 2 hits, including Frank Robinson's homer. Nobody left. At the end of 1 complete, we've got a dandy. Cincinnati 3, Baltimore 2.
I'm a casual kind of guy, I swear. If you can't tell by my guitar, you can sure tell by my hair. You see, I don't go spoiling it with things out of bottles and tubes, or even water out of a spout. So, feeling the way I do, I never thought I'd see the day when I'd say, hey, here's something for my hair that's really a groove. Let me tell you about it. It's a thing called the Dry Look, made by Gillette. It's dry control in an aerosol can. You comb your hair till it looks just right. Then put on the Dry Look, and your hair will still look dry, full, casual, and clean. And if you want just a little dry control, or maybe a little more, or even more, the dry look gives it to you, because there's a special three-way valve on top. You set the right degree of dry control for you. So take my advice and try the dry look. Yeah, the wet hit is dead. Long live the dry look from Gillette.
We pause 30 seconds for station identification.
WGY, Schenectady, New York.
Baltimore, Dave Concepcion steps in and takes a called strike to Mike Cuellar to start off the second inning. Along with Jim McIntyre, this is Jim Simpson. The score is 3-2 Cincinnati, and we're just at the top of the second. Concepcion has had a fine series. 2 for 6 and 3 RBIs, hitting .333. Picks on a changeup and grounds it foul past Alex Gramis, the coach at third base. Ted Kluszewski coaches over at first base for Cincinnati. No activity now in the Baltimore bullpen, but Cuellar had a mighty rough first inning, giving up 4 hits. Back with the pitch, high fastball, and it's 1 ball, 2 strikes. Game started in a drizzle, and now we look out and we see no umbrellas up anywhere, so apparently it has stopped. Very difficult to tell from here. Fastball is lined foul to the right and into the box seats. Still 1 ball, 2 strikes. Concepcion has been hitting to the opposite field, but with great success. And they play him that way, not too deep, then swung around to the right. Despite the fact he is a right-handed batter going against the left-handed Cuellar. Cuellar ready, 1-2 the count outside, and Dave wanted to swing at that one, almost jumped across the plate, but then saw it go outside and took it for ball 2. Cincinnati leads by a run in the top of the second. Fastball, it's out to short right field, and back goes Davy Johnson, taps his glove, and then takes it on the dead run for out number 1 of the second inning. And that will bring up Jim Merritt. Merritt, as a batter in the majors, has a lifetime average of 142, which is pretty good. 4 home runs, 1 last season up in New York. And this year, 3 of them at Atlanta, San Diego, and in Cincinnati. Strike as he swings. 0-1 to Jim Merritt. Cuellar ready to work again with left-handed batting Merritt, and this is outside and low. It is ball 1, 1-1. Jim Merritt, Ferguson Jenkins, and Johnny Odom are the only pitchers in the major leagues who hit as many as 3 home runs in 1970. 1 ball, 1 strike. 3-2 the score, Cincinnati. Fastball is up high from Cuellar. It is 2-1. 1 out, top of the second inning. They play Merritt to pull slightly, which is a tribute to him. Grounds this ball down the first base line, gloved by Powell, foul, and he tosses back to Cuellar. Mike was over near first, preparing to cover, of course, had the ball been fair. So it's 2-2. First inning for Cincinnati with 1 out. Rose lined a double to right. Johnny Bench scored him with a single with 2 out, and Lee May doubled. Bench going to third, and then Hal McRae doubled to center to drive in 2 more. Swing, a miss, held on to by Echeverren, and it's strike 3. Merritt is down, the second strikeout for Mike Cuellar. And here's the man he struck out to start off the ball game, Bobby Tolan. Struck out swinging on a breaking pitch. Tolan has a home run in the series, 1 RBI. Takes the ball inside from Cuellar. Ball 1. Bobby successfully has stolen a base and has been caught stealing. He, as you know, led the major leagues in stolen bases with 57. 1 ball pitch is down low, and Bill Williams, kneeling down on the inside shoulder of catcher Andy Echeverren, shakes his head. No, it's ball 2. Tolan has something in his eye and backs off for a moment. Now steps in. Cuellar throws. Ground ball. 1-1. Big hop to Boog Powell, simply steps on first base to end the inning. No runs, hits, or errors, anybody left. We go to the last of the second. Cincinnati 3, Baltimore 2.
gets a team to the World Series? Performance. Performance that shows up game after game. In clutch situations that make the difference between winning and losing. Well, it's like that in auto racing, too. And the name of the performer that comes through race after race is STP Oil Treatment. STP Oil Treatment means championship performance for race cars and for family cars, too. Because STP works in all engines to cut the heat, friction, and wear that can put your car on the sidelines with expensive repairs. STP clings to vital engine parts, lubricates better than ordinary motor oil alone, helps keep your car running smoother, quieter, longer. That's the kind of championship performance you can appreciate every day. And now that winter's coming, you should remember that STP gives you the extra edge your car needs to start faster in cold mornings. So, the first time you need oil, or the next time you change oil, have your service station add STP Oil Treatment. STP is the racer's edge. A big round of applause is for Brooks Robinson, who's going to be the Oriole leadoff man in the second inning. I have to think, Jim, that your observation was that this could be a high-scoring ball game. You said that before we went on the air, and with both pitchers having some problems with their arm, and what has happened so far, looks like you're going to be right on the money.
Well, Jim, here's a fellow that's driven in 6 runs thus far in the series, Brooks Robinson, hitting .500, 8 for 16, and of course has been amazing afield with a glove. Now ready to work to him and throws outside and high. It is ball 1. Brooks yesterday went 4 for 4 in a losing cause. The last American League player to do that was Bill Dickey of the Yankees back in 1938. Ball 1 pitch is catching the inside corner. Breaking pitch looked like a slider from Merritt. 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, a year ago, when the New York Mets were taking Baltimore in 5 games, Brooks Robinson had 1 hit in 19 times at bat. He's 8 for 16. 1-1 pitch is fouled off to the right. Lee May gives chase over near the box seats, down off first base, but it is at least 20 rows back. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Brooks Robinson, with Davy Johnson swinging a couple of bats in the on-deck circle. Brooks, from the time that ball was fouled off, never stood out of the batter's box, never stepped out, just stood there with the bat ready to face Jim Merritt, who owns a 3-2 lead when we're in the last of the second. Merritt throws 1-2, breaking pitch, line to left field. Back goes Hal McRae, looking up and takes it, running away from the plate toward left center field. Robinson is really getting wood on that baseball in this series. Here is Davy Johnson hitting at 167 in the series. 3 runs, 4 hits, no errors for Cincinnati, with a big blow for them, a 2-run double by Hal McRae. 2 runs, 2 hits, no errors for Baltimore, and the big hit for Baltimore, the 2-run homer by Frank Robinson, with 1 out in the first inning. Merritt stares into his catcher, Johnny Bench. Johnson, a right-handed batter, waits and fouls the first one back toward us over our heads. Strike 1. Andy Etchebarren has walked out and is kneeling on deck. Wayne Granger is still throwing. He was throwing back in the first inning, remember. After Robinson lined that ball to left field, he got up and started throwing again. Low and away with the pitch. Bench digs it out of the dirt. It's 1 ball, 1 strike to Dave Johnson. Granger, right-hander, had 35 saves for Cincinnati this year. 1-1. Fastball is outside. It's 2 balls, 1 strike. Umbrellas are up again. It is drizzling again. And if you're just joining us, it rained most of the morning in Baltimore, and we are to get occasional showers today, tonight, and tomorrow. But the game started in the drizzle, and it hasn't been held up yet. 2 balls, 1 strike. Lights are on. This pitch is inside. Backing him out of there, it's 3 balls, 1 strike. So Johnson looks down to Billy Hunter, the coach at third base, to see what it is he can do. Can he swing on 3-1? With Etchebarren due up, or does he take? They pull Davy to pull. They play him around to the left. Merritt is ready. Johnson had 10 home runs during the regular season, low and away, and Johnson draws the first walk of the ball game.
Watching Johnny Bench indicate to Jim Merritt, get up on top. You're dropping your arm down a little bit, which is why he's been missing the best pitches. gets in trouble control-wise, it's because he doesn't throw right off over the top.
Andy Etchebarren caught a game, didn't get a hit in 4 tries, takes a breaking pitch and swings on it, and it is bobbled at third base by Billy Hunter, the coach, who keeps it in play. Billy missed it and then figured I'll go with the gag and began to deliberately bobble the ball and then throw it back to Merritt. Strike one to Etchebarren with Johnson on at first and 1 out in the last of the second. Cincinnati leads 3-2. Jim Merritt, because of the rain here, was having trouble while warming up in the bullpen and the same time as trouble on the mound, and that is he's getting mud in his spikes and has to take time out to get the mud out of there so he can get good footing to throw to Etchebarren. 1-strike pitch ready as he looks over at first base, throws a breaking pitch that just does miss. It's 1 ball, 1 strike to Etchebarren. Etchebarren played in 78 games, splitting the catching duty during the regular season with Ellie Hendricks, and hit .243. He was in the 1966 series. Fastball, and he swings and misses. It's strike 2. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Etchebarren with Mike Cuellar on deck. Funny thing about Cuellar, remember Dave McNally the other day hitting a grand slam home run? First time a pitcher's ever done it. In the World Series, Mike Cuellar had a grand slam home run in the league championships against Minnesota. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Merritt ready, fastball right up the middle, base hit, right past Merritt. Down the second goes Davy Johnson and stops there. Runners at first and second. Cuellar coming up to bat. Baltimore trails 3-2. The tying run is now down at second base, and Cuellar is up to bat, taking a look down to Billy Hunter to see what it is. And Helms and Concepcion check with each other about what they're going to do should the ball be hit to either one of them. Perez is in on the home plate side of third base. May moves in close to the grass at first base. And Helms and Concepcion play back for the double play. Cuellar, left-handed batter, swings and lines one to right field. Rose comes over, makes a fine catch on the run, and then throws behind the runner. But Johnson is back at second base. That had base hit written all over it, but Rose was playing rather shallow and not playing Cuellar to pull too much and ran to his right and made the catch. Now Sparky Anderson, after seeing that happen, walks out to talk to Merritt. Anderson, of course, doesn't want this ball game to get away. Not that it's anywhere near being over. We are just in the last of the second. But with Belanger coming up and Mike Cuellar, a left-handed pitcher, batting against the left-handed Jim Merritt and getting that kind of wood on the ball. And remember, the other out was a line drive off the bat of Brooks Robinson that McRae made a fine catch on in left field. Sparky has said, "That's all for you, Jim Merritt. I am going to the bullpen." Jim Merritt will leave. The 2 runners on are charged to him. He gave up a total of 3 hits and thus far 2 runs. And Jim McIntyre, that is going to be Wayne Granger, who is coming in.
That's right, and this has got to be the earliest that Wayne has ever been called into a game in 1970. I cannot recall any game in which Granger relieved as early as the second inning. Say, you want to quit school? Read the want ads first. You'll find that most employers look for high school graduates and get them because 7 out of 10 people hunting for jobs have finished high school. If you're in school, better stay there. If you've quit, see your state employment service or youth opportunity center. To get a good job, get a good education. I have to think, Jim, that Merritt may have been trying intentionally to get the ball up to Cuellar, expecting him to push the bunt down the third base side to move the runners up a notch. But Earl Weaver tried to cross up the strategy and had his pitcher swing away, and as you pointed out, hit a grand slam home run against the Twins. And with the ball up and out over the plate, he had a good pitch to swing at, and he hit it pretty hard.
That he did, Jim. Wayne Granger, who strides it now, we told you, 35 saves during the regular season. In his only series appearance, he worked only 2/3 of an inning, and Baltimore roughed him up pretty good. 2 hits, 3 earned runs, thanks to a home Wayne Granger, of course, a big man in the Cincinnati bullpen, and in the scheme of things, because it's the Cincinnati bullpen that brought the Reds through, whereas conversely, Baltimore is known for its starting pitchers, the big three, Cuellar, who won 24, McNally, who won 24, and Jim Palmer, who won 20. Jim Merritt, who started this game, had 20 victories for Cincinnati to lead that team. Gary Nolan had 18, and one wonders what Wayne Simpson might have been able to do had he not experienced injuries in his shoulder. He already had won 14 when he left in July. Well, 2 are out. Johnson, the tying run down at second. Etchebarren on at first. Mark Belanger, who is now 1 for 15, trying to drive the runner in, keep this rally going, and he's facing the right-handed Wayne Granger. Pitch is inside to him. Ball 1. Belanger, right-handed hitter. 3-2 Cincinnati in a game that is already about 40 minutes old. And we're just now in the last of the second inning. Been a lot of scoring. They're playing Belanger not to pull the ball, but to push it toward right if he does connect with it. Sidearm fastball is outside. It is 2-0 to Belanger, who quickly looks down to Billy Hunter to check to see whether or not take another one or swing if he tries to get it over. 2 are out. Blair waits on deck. Belanger chokes up considerably on the bat, not known for the long ball. Another fastball, and left field. Around third base, Tim Johnson's got good speed. McRae comes in and simply tosses to Concepcion at third. It's a tie game. As Belanger, who was 1 for 15, swings on the 2-0 pitch and lines a single to left. Etchebarren on at second base. Belanger with an RBI on at first base. They're pulled around to the left for the power-hitting Paul Blair. Takes a curveball on the outside corner. Strike 1. No activity in the Cincinnati bullpen. And now someone is running out to go into the Cincinnati bullpen, and Jim McIntyre is putting the glasses on him to see who it is. Has his jacket on at the moment.
It looks like Tony Cloninger, Jim.
Well, we said it yesterday, and it's been said almost in every World Series in this situation. There is no tomorrow. Cincinnati must win today, and Cloninger is starting pitcher. There's a drive, pulled down the left field line. Etchebarren comes around third. McRae is up. He's throwing home, and is off the mark, backed up by Granger. Baltimore has the lead. Wayne Granger has given up 2 base hits in a row. Is up and throwing in the bullpen. Breaking pitch is out and away. Bench has to go to his right knee to dig it out. Ball 1 to Frank Robinson. Robinson worked Jim Merritt to start at a 3-2 and then belted a high home run deep in the stands in left field. Baltimore down 3-0 as they were in the first game of the series, has come back and now leads 4-3. Sidearm pitch is hit up in the air high. In center field, Bobby Tolan waits for it to come down and has it for the third out. But 2-run score on 3 hits, no errors, and 2 left. At the end of 2, Baltimore 4, Cincinnati 3.
The following is dedicated to all you folks out there who have corrected Winston's grammar.
What do you want? Good grammar or good taste, what do you want? Good grammar or good taste? Pardon my grammar, but Winston tastes good like a cigarette should.
Winston may not say it right, but they sure know how to make it right.
Hey, Bud, if you want to get in on a terrific deal, listen to this. You know the Gillette Techmatic razor? The razor that gets the nubs? Well, here's the deal. Right now, when you buy the Gillette Techmatic razor, America's top-selling razor, you get a can of Gillette Foamy Shave Cream with lemon lime free. You get that? Foamy with lemon lime free. So what are you waiting for? Get the Gillette Techmatic razor now. A deal like this don't last forever.
With Jim Simpson, this is Jim McIntyre at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore, where the Orioles have taken a 4-3 lead. The Reds jumped out in front with 3 runs in the first inning, but cannot stand prosperity. A 2-run homer by Frank Robinson, and singles behind a walk to Johnson by Etchebarren, Belanger, and Blair. And here we are, Baltimore leads 4-3, third inning. Here's Jim.
Pete Rose doubled right on a fastball back in the first inning and came home on a single by Johnny Bench. Batting right-handed against the left-handed Cuellar, and swings on the first pitch and fouls it at the plate, strike one. Well, this is where the trouble begins when you talk about the Cincinnati Reds. The National Leaguers can tell you about it. So can the Baltimore Orioles. Rose, Perez, Bench, May. In the third inning. Back with a breaking pitch. It is down low. It is 1-1 to Pete Rose. 4-3 to score. Baltimore is down 3-0 as they were in the first game of the series. We are just starting the third inning. Fastball this time. It is hit to the right side. Johnson is there. Sidearm throw to Powell, and Rose is out by plenty. That'll bring up Tony Perez, who battled Cuellar to a 3-2 count back in the first, but then lifted a lazy fly to Merv Retman out in left field. That was before Bench's single, Bay's double, and McRae's double. As we said, Tony Perez with tremendous home run power. Cuellar throws in on him. It's too far inside, and it's ball one. There's 40 home runs, 129 RBIs during the regular season. You cannot discount those. Big man, good power. Here's the ball one pitch, and this is hit to left field on the line. Retman is over, staying low with it and making the catch. Retman recognized that as a sinking line drive and came over with his knees down low, his body bent forward toward the ball, and stayed right with it and took it just a couple of feet off the ground. Did not come in toward home plate, but rather toward the foul line and left. Here's Johnny Bench, who singled in the run back in the first inning. Baltimore now leads by a run. Bench right-hander against Cuellar. Perez hit the ball pretty well. Cuellar is ready. Fastball foul to the screen. Tom Phoebus up and throwing again. Earl Weaver got a case of the worries when he saw Perez hit that ball that well. Cuellar is ready, back with a breaking pitch, but it's too low. Bounces up, and Rose catches it and turns to Billy Williams, the umpire, and says, how about that? Keep that ball in play or throw it out, and Williams is going to throw it out. Again, we say hello to you around the world listening on American Forces Radio, wherever you are, Vietnam, Korea, Japan, Europe, the Caribbean, or on our United States ships at sea. Cuellar is back with a breaking pitch, and there is strike two. Rose started to offer, Bench started to offer, did not, and it dropped over for a strike. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And Bench strikes out. A run hit to Aaron. That's the third strikeout for Mike Cuellar. We go to the last of the third. Baltimore leading 4-3.
Every World Series game has a lot of tradition behind it. All of the great teams have played in this series, and every year more great names join those of the past. Here's something else that's got tradition going for it: STP oil treatment. STP has given drivers the edge on great race circuits all over the world, and it doesn't stop there. Millions and millions of motorists rely on STP oil treatment every day to keep their family cars running smoother, quieter, longer. STP clings to vital engine parts, lubricates better than motor oil alone ever could. Helps eliminate damaging friction and wear. On the track, that can give you the winning edge. On the highway, it can mean a lot longer life for your engine. And with winter coming up, you need STP protection even more. Because STP gives you that extra lubrication you need to help get smooth, fast starts on cold mornings. So get that STP tradition working for you. Have your service station add a can of STP oil treatment to your car's engine and run racer sharp. We pause 30 seconds for station identification.
All the good things, the beautiful things, the sweet things come from the sun, including Saratoga ginger ale. We use only ginger straight from Jamaica, one of the sunniest places there is. Saratoga ginger ale. It's like opening a bottle of sunshine. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. It's all right.
WGY, Schenectady, New York.
Along with Jim Simpson, this is Jim McIntyre. We're ready for the Baltimore half of the third inning. The Orioles in front 4-3. And here's Jim as Boog Powell steps up.
Concepcion at shortstop made a good play on Boog Powell, catching his pop fly, running away with his back to the plate back in the first inning. Powell, a left-hander against the right-handed Granger. And remember, Belanger and Blair on the Granger fastballs line singles to left field. Both men pull the ball. Belanger seldom does that. Boog Powell with great power, and he is standing at the left side of the plate looking at the three-quarter and sidearm throws of Granger, who throws him a breaking pitch inside. Lee May at first base, Tommy Helms at second, Dave Concepcion at short, Tony Perez is the third baseman for the Reds, Hal McRae in left, Bobby Tolan in center, Pete Rose in right, Johnny Bench the catcher, Granger throwing another breaking pitch. This one is a curveball that drops right over strike one to Boog Powell. It's 1-1. On deck is Merv Retman. 309 feet down each foul line and then dropping away dramatically to 410 feet straight away center field. Granger ready. There's the ball ripped to right field. Pete Rose is on his way back. Watches it go by and bounce up against the bullpen wall. There's a long throw to second base, but nobody's there to cover, and it is cut off, and Boog Powell has a double. Wayne Granger has pitched to four men, has given up 3 base hits. And I mean to tell you, all of them have been ripped rather well. Merv Retman is coming up. Milt Wilcox, the young 20-year-old youngster, is getting up to throw, and very quickly Johnny Bench walks out to talk to Wayne Granger. Slow things down just a little bit. Retman is ready. 4-3 the score, Baltimore. They were down 3-0. Boog Powell down at second base with none out. And Retman and Brooks Robinson do up. Retman swung on a curveball from Merritt back in the first inning and popped out to Concepcion. Swings here, fouls the ball at the plate. It's strike one.
Jim, the last 3 or 4 times that we've seen Wayne Granger pitch, he has been getting the ball up. And when he gets the ball up, he's in trouble. He has to throw the sinking fastball, and he has to start it out down around the knees.
Granger peering into Bench, looking back now to Boog Powell, throws sidearm fastball. It is low, and it is 1-1. Merv Retman, who looks down to Billy Hunter, the coach at third base. Cincinnati got 3 runs in the first inning, Baltimore 2 in the first, and 2 more in the second. We are now in the last of the third. Lights are on. It is not drizzling. Granger, three-quarter motion, fastball, out up the middle. Powell on his way around third base. Here comes the throw from Tolan to home plate. Bench is waiting. Powell is safe, and down to second on the throw goes Retman. 5-3. To
between Johnny Bench's legs and planted that left foot on home plate as Bench made the tag up on his shoulders and was called safe by plate umpire Billy Williams, which indeed he was. And I have to think that a smaller man may not have made it. But Bill Powell at 250 plus with a full head of steam was pretty hard to stop. And Bench just couldn't do the job. Johnny's a pretty good-sized boy, but not that big. After a conference with Granger, Sparky Anderson is headed back to the dugout. Young Milt Wilcox certainly has not had time enough to get loose in the bullpen. But you have to think that if Robinson is retired and happens to hit the ball hard, Wilcox would be in there.
Now, Brooks Robinson lined to left field back in the second inning, but that was off left-hander Jim Merritt. He's now 8 for 17 in the series with 6 RBIs, gets a curveball, and fouls it off to the right. And maybe much of that talking between Anderson, Bench, and Granger had to do with what do you do with Brooks Robinson? Or remember what we said we're going to do with Brooks Robinson. Or don't throw too many of those fastballs, it's not working for you. In any event, Milt Wilcox continues to throw. There's a fastball, sidearm pitch that is outside and low. It is 1-1 to Brooks Robinson. Retman singled, drove in Boog Powell, who just made a dandy slide, and Merv went on down to second base on the throw by Tolan to home. Still nobody out. Last of the third, 5-3 Baltimore. 5th game of the series. Breaking pitch. Line drive, one hop off the chest of Helms. Picks it up, throws over to first base. Has the man at first base, Brooks Robinson. But with one out, Merv Retman has moved on to third base. And that brings up Davy Johnson, who walked. Now, Brooks Robinson did not get a base hit. Did hit the ball well, gets a hand, but he's also done this. He has hit the ball to the other side of the field, has moved the runner along to third base. And that is all you can ask of anyone. So now a fly ball or a ground ball to the infield very deep, or of course a base hit or a miscue of any kind could score Retman from third base with the 6th Baltimore run. Davy Johnson took a pitch for ball 4 after working the count to 3-1 and scored ahead of Belanger's hit back in the second inning. Called strike to Johnson. Billy Williams, the umpire, behind the plate from the National League. Emmett Ashford in his first World Series, stationed at first base. Ken Burkhardt of the National at second. John Flaherty of the American at third base. Tony Benson of the National League in left field. And Bob Stewart in right field from the American League. Fastball, sidearm pitches outside. 1 ball, 1 strike to Dave Johnson. Retman at third, 1 out. 5-3 the score. Baltimore. We are in the last of the third on an overcast day in a game that started in the rain. Baltimore wins today. The 1970 World Championship belongs to the Orioles. If not, we go to Cincinnati for Game 6 on Saturday. Sidearm fastball is too high, and as Jim McIntyre pointed out, Granger's having trouble keeping it down low, and that one was certainly up high, up above the letters. Wilcox continues to throw. Flanagan has been throwing in the bullpen for Cincinnati. Sidearm pitch again, fastball in the hole between third and short. Johnson has an RBI as Retman simply trots home, and it is 6-3 Baltimore. Now Sparky Anderson is coming out. Now Granger has given up 5 hits in the 7 men that he has faced. It is 6 runs, 8 hits, no errors for Baltimore, 3 runs, 4 hits, no errors for Cincinnati as Wayne Granger walks off the mound. Jim McIntyre.
Yes, Jim, and Milt Wilcox, who pitched only 1/3 of an inning in Sunday's game in Cincinnati, is being waved in from the bullpen. This youngster came up from Indianapolis with very fine credentials and indeed pitched well for the Reds, winning 3 out of 4 decisions, and is looked upon as a certain, big factor in the Cincinnati Reds pitching plans for 1971. But right now, the worry for Sparky Anderson and the Cincinnati Reds is Andy Etchebarren and pitcher Mike Cuellar, who has had some problems himself, but seems to have settled down. The Reds went in front with 3 in the first, and the first 2 games when they were in front, 3-0 and 4-0, don't seem to stand up under the pressure of having a lead. As we said, only 1/3 of an inning of pitching for Wilcox. He allowed 3 hits and 2 runs, both earned, didn't walk anybody, didn't strike anybody out, and he was the losing pitcher in that ball game, the second game on Sunday. Wilcox appeared in 5 games, pitched 1 shutout against the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium this year, won 3 and lost 1, and also had 1 save working in relief. He pitched 22 1/3 innings for the season, allowed 19 hits and 6 earned runs, allowed 2 home runs, walked 7, and struck out 13. And he'll face first Andy Etchebarren.
All right, Jim McIntyre. Milt Wilcox is now taking his leading warm-ups as kneeling in the on-deck circle still is Andy Etchebarren, who singled and scored a run ahead of Blair's single back in the second inning. It is 6-3. Well, again, as Jim has pointed out about being behind, Baltimore, as we will point out again, was down by 3 runs, 3-0 in the first game and came back to win it 4-3. Then they were down 4-0 in the second game and came back to win it 6-5. Today they were very quickly down 3-0 without even having come to bat in the first inning of this ball game. But now they lead by 3, 6-3. As Andy Etchebarren steps up, Davey Johnson, who has just scored Rettman from third base with a sharp single to left field, is out. The Ranger gave up 2 runs. Dave Johnson, his responsibility on 5 hits. Wilcox in the league championships, I'm sure you know, in the final game against Pittsburgh, the third game, was just simply an amazingly good-looking right-handed pitcher. And the Reds figure that despite his serious performance, he is one of the good ones for next year and years to come. He's only 20. Ready with the first pitch, off-speed pitch that breaks right over the plate. Outside corner, strike 1. They're playing Etchebarren, who singled to center to pull the ball to left. And now a quick throw, but Johnson's only about a half a step off at first base and is right there as Lee May tosses the ball back to Wilcox. Merritt started. Ranger came on in the second. Now Wilcox in the third of the 6-3 ball game. Wilcox ready, throws, fastball in on him, and apparently he went around with his swing. Etchebarren is asking, did I go around? He looks down to Billy Hunter, but it's strike 2. Mike Cuellar is on deck, the pitcher, who was down 3-0 and now finds himself leading by 3. Breaking pitch is much too high. The bench has to stand up and reach up to get it. Ball 1, strike 2. Well, coming to the stadium this morning, I wouldn't have given you much chance at all that this game would be played, even though they do everything in their power to play World Series games. It was raining that hard. But the closer we got, the better the weather was, and we're playing the game. Pitch is off the corner, changed up. It's 2-2. The game started in a drizzle, and it has been drizzling off and on several times since. Etchebarren, the right-handed hitter, waits. Right-handed Wilcox throws. Ball hit to the opposite field, high to right field. Pete Rose trots toward the line. Now gets under it and has it for the second out. Johnson moves back to first base, and Mike Cuellar, who lined to right field on the first pitch that he saw in the second inning, is the batter. Wilcox throws to him. Cuellar's left-handed all the way. Swings at an inside pitch and fouls it right at the plate. Mike is not a great hitting pitcher. Overall average is 116. There are some pitchers who would settle for that, but the rule of thumb for a good hitting pitcher is if he hits right around 200. He's hit 4 home runs in his career, 2 in the regular season, 1970. One at Kansas City, another at Detroit, then he hit a grand slam home run in the playoffs. Cuellar may have shaken himself up a little bit when he swung and fouled that ball at the plate. He is still walking around. The ball might have gone off his right shin. And now quickly, Salvone comes out, the trainer, to see how he is. Looks like the ball went right off his right foot, Jim.
Either his right foot or his right shin, Jim. I think you were probably right there. They're taking a look at his right shin bone. Wilcox, man, there's some of that, what is that, ethyl chloride they spray on you? It's that free zone, you know.
I can't even pronounce it.
Keeps you from hurting, you know. I call it that magic elixir that they spray, and it sort of freezes the surface and helps to eliminate the pain, numbs it. So Mike, I think, is going to be okay. He's going to shake it off and stay in there. Wilcox playing pitch and catch with Johnny Bench, and Earl Weaver and Ralph Savon cut back to the dugout, and we'll get Cuellar back in the batter's box.
6-3 the score. We're in the last of the third. Baltimore leads it. Davy Johnson's on at first base now with 2 out, and the count, of course, is 1 strike to Cuellar as he fouled that ball at the plate and off his right foot. Wilcox ready. Fastball is blown away, and it's 1-1. 1 ball, 1 strike to Cuellar. They play Mike shaded just a bit to pull the ball toward right. Just a bit. Back with the pitch. Fastball is outside. It's 2 balls, 1 strike. 2-1 to Mike Cuellar, who owns a 3-run lead in this 5th game of the 1970 World Series. Last year, he won the only game Baltimore won, 4-1 in the opener against the Mets. Wilcox ready, and swing and a miss by Cuellar. It's 2-2. Last year, he worked in 16 innings against the Mets, allowed a total of 2 runs on 13 hits. Today, he has given up 3 runs on 4 hits. Fastball is outside, and now Wilcox has gone all the way on Mike Cuellar. And with 2 out, Davy Johnson on this 3-2 pitch will be off and running from first base. He already scored twice in this inning. Merv Retman drove in Boog Powell, and then Davy Johnson drove in Retman. There's the ball, and it is hit high and foul to the right side, into the seats. Narrowly missing, going into the upper deck at back of first base. So Johnson trots back to first. 3-2. Johnson walks off at first. May not holding him there. Wilcox stares into Johnny Bench. Now throws. Foul. Behind the plate. And it's still 3-2. Cincinnati, 3 runs in the first inning. Baltimore came back with 2 in the first, 2 in the second. They have scored 2 here in the third. And lead it 6-3. Not an unpleasant day at all. Wilcox whirls and throws. As we said, May is playing behind the bag and took the throw about 6 feet from the bag. Wants to guard against that extra base hit. Here's the pitch, and it's strike 3 as Cuellar swings and misses. 2-run score on 3 base hits. There are no errors, 1 left, and Milt Wilcox did quite a job. At the end of 3, Baltimore 6, Cincinnati 3. I got to read this. Out on the scoreboard it says, nothing personal, understand. The town of Cincinnati's grand. Your nice hotels and fine new park, exciting nightlife after dark. But even though this street we'd like, we'd really rather not go back.
That's got to be signed the Baltimore Orioles. You read poetry well.
Cuellar is warming up. Lee May is due up and is standing off the plate along with Hal McRae, the second man up in the inning. And now Lee May, who has been doing everything for the Cincinnati Reds that could be asked of him, doubled on the first pitch.
Number 23.
Back in the first inning and scored one of the 3 Cincinnati runs. And of course he had 2 home runs and 8 RBIs and a .429 average before today. Cuellar's going to try to work on him now. Throws a big breaking pitch that stays outside. It's ball 1 to Lee May. 6 runs, 8 hits, no errors for Baltimore. 3 runs, 4 hits, and no errors for Cincinnati. Lee May has hit safely in every game. Cuellar is ready. Breaking pitch, and he's got him swinging. Foul tipped at the plate. Ball went into the dirt, so Reggie Brown asks for a new one. May now is the only hitter who has hit safely in every game, including today. Now, Brooks Robinson and Bobby Tolan have a chance to do that, but they haven't hit yet. May, big, strong right-handed hitter. Cuellar's back with the fastball. That catches the inside corner. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Seldom used fastball at Cuellar as he throws mostly breaking pitches. Cloninger is up and throwing again for Cincinnati. 1 ball, 2 strike pitch. Breaking pitch stays outside. He changed a little bit on that screwball and ran it away from May, but it missed. It's 2 balls, 2 strikes. Robinson near the line at third base. What a job he has done on Lee May. When Lee May hasn't hit the ball to Brooks, he is really there. He hits the ball to Brooks, backhanded and back to third base. And now they're going to throw on as May does not run out and may have hurt himself. He fell down right as the plate went down to one knee. But it was quite a play made by Brooks Robinson. But the fact that Lee May didn't run took the excitement away from it. But what a backhanded stop by Brooks Robinson.
Lee slipped and fell in the mud at the plate, Jim, and I guess his spikes just gave way.
Here's Hal McRae, who doubled in 2 runs back in the first inning, hits the first pitch. It is high. Brooks Robinson comes over. Now Mark Belanger, fair territory, down the line in left field, and takes the high pop-up, and McRae is out. Well, Cuellar started off, giving up 3 runs and 4 hits in the first inning. He has been hit hard on several occasions since, but he has now retired the last 9 men in a row, and despite the fact he has hit himself with a batted ball on his foot or shin, is pitching very well. Cuellar ready throw to Tommy Helms now. It's outside and low, ball 1. Helms grounded to short to end the first inning. Robinson had made another one of those patented backhanded stops, and his throw to first base would have been from foul territory. Fastball high. Cuellar is calling it as the pitcher, telling everybody, Boog Cowles to take this one, and everybody starts going Boog, and he's got it, and that's the easiest inning of all thus far for Mike Cuellar. We go to the last of the 4th inning. Baltimore leading Cincinnati 6-3.
When you have an opportunity to build a new line of cars from the wheels up, the better way, the more expensive way, but the better way is to design a 2 doors, one kind of car, and the 4-door sedan and station wagon as a completely different car.
Chrysler Corporation Cars.
In our intermediate line, a 2-door is one kind of car. A 4-door sedan and the beautiful new wagon are an entirely different kind.
Drive a 1971 Dodge Charger or Plymouth Satellite Sebring hardtop, and you'll get a 2-door designed for comfort, style, and beauty. No compromise. Drive a Dodge Coronet or Plymouth Satellite 4-door sedan or wagon, and you'll get the extra roominess and entry ease that you want.
Chrysler Corporation Cars.
Hardtops designed as hardtops. Sedans and wagons designed as sedans and wagons. Extra value and worth. Extra care and engineering. See the new 71s at your Dodge or Chrysler Plymouth dealers now.
Chrysler Corporation cares.
It hasn't happened yet, and Mike Cuellar seems to be getting stronger as the innings roll by. He's retired 10 men in a row. But in past performance, you'd think that one of these strong Cincinnati right-hand hitters would be getting a home run. He's given up quite a few this year. He allowed 34 during the 1970 season, which is one about every 8.8 innings. But so far, Mr. Cuellar, coming back after a shaky start, has looked better and better as the innings go by.
Mark Belanger singled in a run back in the second inning with his second hit of the series. He is 1 for 2 today. He fouled out in the first inning. He is the leadoff batter in the Oriole lineup, and he's leading off this last of the 4th inning, facing Milt Wilcox, the right-hander who throws a fastball in the corner. It's strike 1. Wilcox, 20 years old, born in Hawaii. Ready to throw. Hit on the fists and fouled back. It's strike 2 to Belanger. Well, Baltimore has twice as many runs as Cincinnati, 6-3, and twice as many hits as Cincinnati, 8-4. 2 strikes to Belanger with Paul Blair, who's had a perfect day on deck. Wilcox ready to throw, comes back with a breaking pitch. It's high and away, and it's 1 ball, 2 strikes.
It looks better now as far as the skies and the weather's concerned than it has at any time today. Fastball is fouled out of play. It's still 1-2 to Belanger. In case you're just joining us, this game started in a drizzle. It rained most of the morning here in Baltimore. There was serious question. They even had the rules of what was going to happen if it were rained out or if it got started, played to a tie, and then rained out. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Outside with the pitch, it's 2-2, but right now it looks as though they'll get this game in with ease, which means that there must be a thunder cloud right behind the stadium when I say that, Jim.
It usually happens that way.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Wilcox ready, throws a fastball, ground ball to the right side. Helms charges it, picks it up, throws over to first, and Belanger is out by 6 or 7 steps. 1 out on the 4th, and Paul Blair, who singled and scored ahead of Frank Robinson's 6th World Series home run of his career in the first inning, is up. And in the second inning, he hit a fastball and lined it to left field to drive in Andy Etcheberry with the second run of that inning and tie the game up. First pitch from Wilcox is outside, ball 1 to Blair.
Right now, Jim, Blair has more hits than anybody on the Orioles.
Big curve, and it drops right over. Strike 1. 1 ball, 1 strike to Blair.
I shouldn't say more hits. He's 8 for 17, while Brooks Robinson is 8 for 18.
1-1. Foul tipped, caught by Bench. It's 1 ball, 2 strikes. Blair took a good cut at that ball. Playing Blair for the pull hitter is the outfield of the Reds, shaded around to the left. Wilcox has done an excellent job. He's retired 3 in a row since being called on to bail out Ranger. Now that breaking pitch went over the head of Blair, who simply bent down at the plate, and it sailed right where his head would have been. But it was not a hard thrown ball, but rather just a big breaking pitch that must have slipped off the hand of Milt Wilcox. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Wilcox ready. Rose comes back with a fastball, but misses outside. It's now 3-2 to Blair. Speaking of pitches that get away, how about that one of Jim Palmer's over in Cincinnati? It went within 30 feet of the plate. It went toward the foul line and more toward third base than toward home as it slipped out of his hand. 3-2. Wilcox throws and strikes him out swinging. Second strikeout for young Milt Wilcox, is now retired 4 in a row. Baltimore leads 6-3. We're in the last of the 4th, and here is Frank Robinson, who hit a home run in the first inning with a man on and fly to center in the second. But when they were down 3-0 in the first inning, it is Robinson that brought the Birds back and got them on the scoreboard with a home run. Cloninger again gets up and starts to throw for the Reds. Sparky Anderson can use everybody today, because if he doesn't win, there's a strike with a fastball at the knees. There's no tomorrow, and of course, he'll worry about whom to pitch tomorrow after he wins today. That's not the problem. 1 strike pitch from Milt Wilcox in the dirt. Picked up on the first hop by Bench. 1 ball, 1 strike. Baltimore leads it by 3 in this 5th game of the 1970 World Series. 6-3. 1-1. Back with a breaking pitch, and Robinson swings and misses. It's strike 2. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The breeze, what there is, and there doesn't seem to be much where we are, but there is some out there, is blowing towards center. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Robinson stands out for a moment, and it looks as though he may have hurt his left hand swinging at that breaking pitch, and now steps back in. He's ready, and a fastball is lined off Wilcox's rib, picked up by Perez at third base, Rodama May, and he's got him. But Wilcox took a shot right in the ribs. The ball lined and caromed over. The trainer is out immediately. Perez picked it up and threw him out. No runs, hits or errors, none left. End of 4. Baltimore 6, Cincinnati 3.
This is Kurt Gowdy. You know, a game like this is always a thrill for me because it's a chance to watch the best baseball in the world. It's performance with a capital P, and I'm big on performance. That's why I recommend that you take your car to the Performance Stop, the Phillips 66 station. They've got performance products with a capital P, like Phillips Flight Fuel Premium Gasoline, The high-performance gasoline that gives you all the power you need, yet keeps your engine running clean. And Phillips Trop Arctic Motor Oil with its exclusive detergent additive. And Phillips PGB tires, the performance tires. Now take a tip from me and stop in at the Performance Stop, the Phillips 66 station nearest you. And when you do, just tell them that Kurt Gowdy sent you. Remember, at Phillips 66, it's performance that counts.
With Jim Simpson, Jim McIntyre at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore, and Sparky Anderson has made up his mind that Milt Wilcox will not bat in the fifth inning. Angel Bravo has selected a bat, come up to the on-deck circle to hit after Dave Concepcion, who's going to be the leadoff man. And we are a little bit concerned about Milt Wilcox and that line shot Robinson hit back to him. He did not look like he was hurt seriously. He walked off the mound under his own power, but we hope to have a report from the Reds clubhouse shortly. For the fifth inning, here again, Jim Simpson.
Concepcion, right-handed batter, popped to Johnson at second, and his only other time at bat. That was back in the second inning, and Cuellar, who's retired 10 in a row, throws, and Concepcion fouls this one off to the right. Now, this becomes a very important inning. Not because who's at bat, but once it is completed, this is an official World Series game. Barring, of course, the fact that the Reds go out in front, and then Baltimore must bat in their half of the fifth inning. Strike one to Concepcion, grounded off his fists and down the line at third. Brooks Robinson comes over in foul territory, and Billy Williams, the umpire, says he wants to look at it, and he keeps the ball in play. 2 strikes to Concepcion. Bravo, who has been up a couple of times but failed to reach base, as Jim McIntyre said, waits on deck to bat for Wilcox. Cuellar is ready, ground ball toward short. Belanger is in, picks it up, guns the ball onto first base, and has Concepcion by a step. Milt Wilcox pitched a 5-net, 1 2/3 innings, and nobody reached base against him. Bravo 0 for 2 in the World Series. Last year, meaning 1969, he was playing with Tucson out in the Pacific Coast League and led the league in hitting with 348. 1 out, top of the fifth, 6-3, Baltimore. Cuellar ready, throws a ball low and away. In the dirt to Bravo. It's ball 1. Bravo had no home runs, not a power hitter, 3 RBIs, and a .277 average during the regular season this year. Left-handed batter, Cuellar throws, and it's down low. Now, Sparky Anderson has Darrell Cheney, a switch hitter, who could hit. Bernie Carbo, of course, who hit .310 as a rookie, is also a left-handed batter, and he has sent up the left-handed Bravo to face the left-handed Cuellar. This pitch is in the dirt, and it's ball 3, and Bravo is on his way to drawing a walk. Jimmy Stewart is also available for pinch hitting, and he, too, like Cheney, is a switch hitter. Ty Klein is a left-hander, like Bravo, and Cuellar, of course, is a left-hander. This one is right down the middle, and it's 3-1. Cuellar was really having trouble with his first 3 pitches, missing big, but this fastball is down the middle, and Bravo was taking all away. 3 balls, 1 strike. Cuellar ready, throws another fastball at the knee. 3-2. Now Bravo, who had a count of 3-0, has been taking the last 2 pitches. It's 3-2, and now with that closed stance of his, steps in against Cuellar, who throws, and it's off the corner, and Bravo draws the walk. That's the first base on balls given up by Mike Cuellar. 6-3 the score, Baltimore, as Bobby Tolan, who has struck out and grounded the pal at first, comes up.
Number 28.
Speaking of left-handers against left-handers, as it's been pointed out throughout the season and throughout the World Series, Tolan has either been the best or the second best hitter against left-handers since joining the Reds. Grounds this ball foul, strike 1. And it was was told that Earl Weaver brought in Pete Rickard for at the last half of the ninth inning down in Cincinnati, and Rickard got him on the line drive to the shortstop. Despite the fact that Rickard was left-hander, Earl Weaver said, yes, I knew that he goes well against left-handers. His pitch is inside. It's 1-1. But I felt I had to go with my best, and my best is Pete Rickard. Baltimore's got that bullpen going. Again, they'd like to wrap it up right here now. Tom Thebus, who was a questionable starter when this series started for this series starting assignment, has appeared in relief, is out there working now. Tolan tries to duck away from this pitch and fouls it off. It was high and in on him, and he's mad at himself because it's not ball two, it's strike two. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The Tolan with Bravo on at first base, 1 out, top of the 5th.
Jim, that ball almost hit former Commissioner William Eckert.
Layar stares in. Here's the pitch, hit to the opposite field. Retman is there, and he has to move a step or two to his right, and that's all, and has it for the second out. Well, Tolan is 0 for 3. Here is Pete Rose, who doubled and scored in the first inning and grounded to Johnson at second in the third. Well, yesterday, the Baltimore Orioles were cruising along much the same way, figuring they were going to wrap up the World Series in 4 straight. But then Mr. Lee May hit a 3-run home run in the 8th inning, and it was all over. So this game is not all over yet by a long shot. Rose looks as if to bunt. It's a strike. Robinson was breaking in from third. And of course, in this situation, trying to bunt his way on, getting 2 men on base, and bringing up the powerful Tony Perez to swing away. Set. Rose waits. Here's the pitch. Fastball, and he falls down as he swings at it. Big cut. First of all, he was trying to bunt his way on to get 2 men on base, and that time he had one thing in mind. Get that ball out of here. 2 strikes to Rose. More than 200 hits for the 5th time in his last 6 seasons this year. He already comes back with the ball in on him, and it's ball 1. Just misses. Some of the fans behind the plate, and of course we are in Baltimore, thought that Cuellar's pitch was on the inside corner of the plate. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Out at first, Johnson second, Belanger short, Robinson third, Retman in left, Blair in center. There's a foul to the screen. Frank Robinson the right, Etchebarren the catcher, and Cuellar the pitcher. He has gone all the way. He has not allowed a hit since the first inning. Had retired 11 men in a row before he gave up the walk to Bravo. The 1-2 pitch, line to right field. Back goes Frank Robinson. He has it in range, sticks up his glove, and has it for the third out. No runs hit to there. There's 1 man left as we go to the last of the 5th. Baltimore leads Cincinnati 6-3.
Walter Johnson had a pitch they used to call the radio ball. Said you could hear it, you couldn't see it. Well, if most of men's hairdressings were that way, it wouldn't be so bad, but they're not. I mean, not only can you see the grease they leave on your hair, you can feel it. That's why you'll like Vitalis. It holds your hair in place without any grease. So, if you want to look good naturally, don't kid yourself. Use Vitalis. That's Vitalis. It's greaseless. Well, the Orioles lead by a score of 6-3. They have 8 hits to the Reds' 4.
Good wages and good working conditions are a major objective of the Retail Clerks International Association. But as one of America's foremost trade unions, it assumes a further responsibility, a commitment to the support of democratic processes in government. Good government depends on citizens who care enough to use their right to vote. Vote on November 3rd. This message from the Retail Store Employees Union in your community, chartered by the Retail Clerks International Association, Washington, D.C. 20006. We pause 30 seconds for station identification.
It is as natural for birds to fly as puppies to bark, as babies to coo, as bees to stay busy, as girls to love carousels, as it is for Saratoga Vichy's natural bubbles to fizz. Good tasting, great mixing Saratoga Vichy. Mother Nature's little bubble act.
WGY, Schenectady, New York.
Back at Baltimore's Memorial Stadium, Jim Simpson with Jim McIntyre. Tony Cloninger, who started a World Series game, has come on to pitch this fifth inning here. He is behind 6-3, meaning he and the rest of the Cincinnati Reds. Baltimore, which scored 2 runs in each of the first 3 innings, and more importantly, when you stare down at what has gone on, Cincinnati hasn't been able to muster a base hit since the first inning against Mike Cuellar. Cuellar in the 6th inning must again face such folks as Perez, Bench, and May that started it all yesterday. Right now it is Baltimore's turn at bat with players like Powell, Redmond, and Robinson. And with the rain threat very much with us today, although it looks as though it's clearing here now in Baltimore, we'll remind you once again, this is now an official World Series baseball game regardless of what the rains may do. Luke Powell steps in for the last of the 5th inning. The voice of the Cincinnati Reds, here's Jim McIntyre.
All right, Jim Simpson. Tony started Tuesday's game and was the loser. Went 5 1/3 innings. He faces Big Boog Powell and breaks a curve up high at ball 1. Tony went 5 1/3, allowed 6 hits and 5 runs Tuesday, and he was the loser. He's the 4th Cincinnati pitcher used today. Strong, hard-throwing right-hander facing Powell. Fires a fastball. He pops it up. Back of third. Perez drifts over toward the line. Comes in a bit and takes it, and there's 1 man out. As Jim mentioned several times, there's no tomorrow for the Cincinnati Reds. It's do or die today, or go home and think about spring training 1971. Here's Merv Rettenman, the left fielder, 1 for 2. A single in the 3rd inning, a bouncer up the middle that batted in a run. And he later came around to score on a hit by Davey Johnson. Cloninger works to him. Swung on and popped up down the right field line. Maybe a play on the ball. May rose, and nobody could get it. It's out of play. Foul ball. 1 strike. Tony Cloninger was not counted upon by the Cincinnati Reds in their starting rotation until injuries, and things began to happen. And Tony was pressed into the starting rotation and came through with 9 wins and 7 losses for the year. Rettenman takes a slider for a strike call, and it's 0-2. 1 out, last half of the 5th inning. The Orioles 6 and the Reds 3. And Mr. Cuellar looks great after the 1st inning. Rettenman ducks away from the pitch. He almost stepped into that fastball. It's 1 ball, 2 strikes. Cloninger is the 16th pitcher the Reds have paraded to the mound in the 1970 World Series. 1-2 to Rettenman, 1 out, none on. 5th inning, Baltimore batting. Here's the pitch. Swing and a foul back, out of play. Merritt went an inning and 2/3. Granger pitched 1/3 of the 2nd inning and 1/3 of the 3rd. Wilcox worked an inning and 2/3, and now we have Cloninger. Tony winds, fires, and Rettenman takes the ball outside a slider that missed. Tony has had control problems this season as well as in previous years. He's averaged 4.7 walks per 9 innings this season. His lifetime National League average, 4 walks per 9-inning game. Big, strong, hard thrower. And gets this pitch low, a fastball to make it 3-2. Tony tied for the lead in the National League for bases on balls in 1965 when he gave up 119. And in 66, he led the league, issuing 116 walks. 3-2 to Rettenman, and he fouls it back upper deck, out of play. McRae deep in left. Tolan shaded a bit toward left and center, and Rose straight away and right. Here's the 3-2 again. Swung on and fouled away again, out of play off the right field line. And Billy Williams looks around for the bat boy. some more baseballs in a hurry. 3-2. Cloninger, a deep breath, winds, kicks, and here it is. Swung on a fly ball deep down the right field line in the corner. That could be trouble. That's a home run. Taking one inside, ball one. Brooks is none for two today and 8 for 18 in the series, including 2 homers and 2 doubles. Merv Rettenman. There's a foul back off the bat of Robinson. 1 ball, 1 strike. Joe Garagiola almost made that, picked that one off. If you get a little bit further, Joe, you'd have had it. 1 ball, 1 strike. Cloninger fires, and it's a ball. Strike to make it on the outside corner. Billy Williams took a look at that crossfire fastball. It hit the edge, and it's 1 ball, 2 strikes. Just a little bit of a breeze blowing straight out towards center, not much. Tony's 1-2, and Robinson hits a looping pop fly to short center, racing down Helms and Concepcion. Dropped in there. He would have had no chance to make second with, well, maybe he would have. There was nobody covering except Cloninger racing back toward the bag. And Brooks had an idea. A pop fly single to short center field. Robinson getting his first hit, Brooks that is, in this game, is at first with 1 out, and Davy Johnson, the second baseman, who's 1 for 1, steps up. He walked and scored in the second inning, singled and knocked in a run in the third. Cloninger lobs the ball over to first as the Reds start a pitcher down in the bullpen. That's Ray Washburn. Right-hander Ray Washburn. Here's a ball too low. 1 ball, no strikes. Davy Johnson was 2 for 12 coming into the game here today. He's now 3 for 13. And that's a little low for a .280 hitter on the season. He batted .281. Cloninger ready to pitch. He swings, smashes it fair by third, down the line. Makes it. Extra bases. Heading for third, Brooks Robinson. On to second is Johnson. The throw comes in, and the runners are on second and third. Looping single off the handle and a well-hit double to the left field corner. Cloninger being cuffed around in the 5th inning. The most home runs by a team in a 5-game World Series is 7 by the Yankees against the Reds in 1961. Baltimore now has 10. They're going to walk Echeverria intentionally to get to the pitcher. Second base on balls the Oriole batters have been given today. Barrett walked 1. And will load the bases with 1 out. And the pitcher coming up, Mike Cuellar. We'd like to point this out. The most home runs by 2 teams in a 5-game series is 10. The Yankees had 7. The Reds had 3 in 1961. And there have been 15 home runs already in this series. Cuellar, line to right and struck out. That's left, digs in. Cloninger will take a windup, and the first pitch on the way is ball one inside. The Orioles have Brooks Robinson at third, Davy Johnson at second, Andy Etchebarren at first. And Cuellar would like to swell that 4-run lead right here. Tony winds and throws, and he cuts on it, missed it, strike one. 1 ball, 1 strike. Cuellar hit a grand slam home run against the Minnesota Twins in the championship series in the American League. And you have to think the Oriole fans figured he may do it right here. 1-1 pitch to him. He bunts toward the mound. Cloninger in, up with it to the plate. 1 to first base. Safe, no double play. Cuellar beat it. Cuellar was trying to get a hit and bat in the run, really. But he got too much wood behind the ball, bunted right back on a bounce to Cloninger. He made the play to bench, and the relay of May was not in time as Cuellar beat the throw. So they forced the runner at the plate. There are 2 men out in the top of the order coming up, Mark Belanger. He's 1 for 3 on the day with an RBI in the second inning with a single to left field. First pitch to him. Swung on, fly ball, right center field. That could be trouble. Now Rose is there now, calls and takes it for the third out to retire the side. But Baltimore adds another run. 1 run on 3 hits and left 3 men on base and no Cincinnati errors. At the end of 5, it's Baltimore 7, Cincinnati 3.
Well, how many potential Hall of Famers do you suppose are playing in this 1970 World Series? Judging by the performance records, there should be quite a few. I've got a nominee you haven't even thought of. His name is Andy Granatelli. No, Andy doesn't play baseball, but he's got quite a performance record all his own with STP oil treatment. On the racetrack, Andy and his racing teams have proven STP cuts heat, friction, and wear. That's because STP clings to vital engine parts, lubricates better than ordinary motor oil alone. It helps race cars and family cars run smoother, cooler, quieter, longer. Now that winter's coming on, STP can help you in another way, because STP will not drain off engine parts overnight. So on cold mornings, you get the benefit of extra lubrication, which means faster starts. So put a famous name on your driving team. The first time you need oil, or the next time you change oil, at your service station, add STP oil treatment, and you'll run racer sharp. Now the 5th inning, very important for Baltimore. They got another run, and that means that even if Cincinnati should load them up and hit a grand slam home run, the score can only be tied. They would love to have had the 5th run, because then, of course, they would be not even in a tie for the grand slam. But it's the 4th run difference for Mike Cuellar makes one big difference, and he hasn't allowed a hit since the first inning. We pause 30 seconds for station identification.
For the Reds in the 6th inning, and Mike Cuellar, who's retired 13 out of 14, hit, and the first pitch is drilled. A leaping stab of a line drive by Mark Belanger. Well, if Mark doesn't play basketball, he's a candidate for pivot right now. Here's Bench, and a pop-up out behind second. Out under it is Johnson, and takes it for out number 2. Well, Mr. Cuellar has now retired 15 of the last 16 men to face him, and he gets 2 outs with 2 pitches. And what's more important to Baltimore and to Cuellar, they've been Perez and Bench, a couple of long ball hitters. Here's Lee May, the only Reds batter to have had a hit in every one of the World Series games. First pitch, right in there, strike call, and he was taken all the way. May doubled in the first inning, grounded out to Brooks Robinson in the 4th, and didn't run as he slipped and fell at the plate. Cuellar works, and he takes it inside at the knees, ball 1. Mike Cuellar had him on the ropes in the first, the Reds did, and he wiggled out of the corner, and man, he's come on great. Pitching to May, a ball too high. Now he's 2-1 to Lee May. 2 balls, 1 strike. They shift way around to left in the outfield for May. Big hole down the right field line. Cuellar delivers. Swung on and bashed foul off the box's left side. 2-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Since the first inning. Here's Cuellar's pitch. Off speed and just outside. Ball 3. 3 balls, 2 strikes. On deck batter is Hal McRae. Nobody throwing in the Cincinnati bullpen right now, and the Baltimore pen has been quiet for some time. 3-2 to May. High fly, left field. Back goes Clare in left center. Gets under it and takes it in front of the bullpen for the 3rd out. The Reds go down in the 6th, nothing across. At the end of 5.5 innings. Game 5, World Series. It's Baltimore 7, Cincinnati 3.
You're impatient for the morning, and you must have something new. Chrysler Plymouth coming through. Your adventure starts tomorrow with the first big brand new. Coming through. If you do a lot of moving, there's a car that's right for you. 'Cause it's built for all the moving that you do.
This is Mark Lindsay with Paul Revere and the Raiders. See the all-new Plymouth Roadrunner. It still goes.
For 1971, Chrysler Plymouth offers more kinds of new cars than anyone else in the business. Why not let a Chrysler or a Plymouth come through for you? Well, we go to the 6th inning. Paul Blair, Frank Robinson, and Boog Powell, and Tony Cloninger, who came on in the 5th inning and was roughed up for a home run by Redmond, and a couple more base hits and had the bases loaded with 1 out, but wiggled out with any further damage. Will try not to allow the Orioles to increase that 4-run lead. 4 is too much as it is. In this do-or-die game for the Reds, they're down 3 games to 1. Blair steps in against Cloninger, and here again is Jim McIntyre.
Thank you, Jim. He's had 2 for 3 today, a couple of singles, right-hand batter, first pitch. Got a strike on the outside part of the plate. The most runs batted in by a player in a 5-game World Series is 8. Dan Murphy of the Philadelphia A's in 1910 did that. Cloninger misses with a slider, ball 1. If the World Series ends today, Lee May would tie that record, provided, well, he might break it if he gets a run batted in here today. There's a ball high and inside. Another slider. Cloninger has thrown a lot of sliders and fastballs. I haven't seen him break off a curveball yet. On deck, Frank Robinson. Washburn gets up again in the Cincinnati bullpen. There's a very high foul back to the right and out of play. Bench turned around, looked up, and I think for a moment lost the ball. Then he finally found it, and it was going to be out of play anyway. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Paul Blair leading off the last half of the 6th inning for the Orioles with a big lead, 7-3. 3 of the first 4 games have been thrillers, and this one has had its share, too. There's a slider outside, ball 3. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Cloninger works. 3 and 2. Ball 4, low outside, and Bench protests the call. Second walk allowed by Cloninger. The Orioles put the first batter up on base in the 6th inning, and we get Frank Robinson strolling up. He plastered a Jim Merritt curveball high, way up, and deep in left field in the first inning, scoring Blair ahead of him. He flied to center field in the 2nd inning and line one off Bill Wilcox's rib cage that carried over to Perez in the 4th inning, and Tony threw him out. So he's 1 for 3. Toss to first, just a token flip over there. Blair, who has good speed, leads and might try to steal. The stretch and the pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 1. Paul Blair stole 24 bases for Baltimore this season. He was their leading base thief. And you can't tell. Earl Weaver might put on the hit and run at any time because Robinson is so adept at that maneuver. All right, the stretch, the pitch. There's a slider in the dirt, bounces away from Bench, and Blair doesn't try to go. The ball bounced away from Johnny Bench and off to the third base side, and Paul Blair played it safe, didn't try to go. One strike. Blair again jumps off. Cloninger gets his sign to the belt. 1-1. Swung on, foul back. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Nobody has said anything about 6-game pitchers. Earl Weaver just believes the Orioles are going to do it here today, and there will be no return trip to Cincinnati. Sparky Anderson figures he doesn't know who's going to pitch those 6 games, providing there is one. Fastball struck him out. Robinson fans on a high fastball. That's Cloninger's first strikeout. And here's Boog Powell. And we've mentioned it several times. They're not booing Boog here in Baltimore. All the fans greet him with a Boog. His real name is John Powell. I believe it's John Wesley. I'm sure he'd prefer not to be called Wesley. Boog is good enough. Left-handed batter. They played deep right in the outfield. He's 1 for 3 today, a double. Swings, drills one to left center field. Takes it. Hurrying over, Tolan jabs it. Headed to third is Blair. There'll be no throw there. As Tolan tapped his arm ready for a throw, figured, hey, what am I trying to do here? That's Blair, and there's no chance to get him, so he throws to second. Powell singles to center field. That's 4 hits off Cloninger, 12 for the Orioles, and brings up Merv Rettenman. Rettenman has singled and homered and batted in 2 runs and scored 2. Here's a guy that could be put in the outfield by the Orioles this year, and they wouldn't miss anybody. Now the stretch by Cloninger. First pitch. Swung on and popped up. Foul outside third. Perez coming over under it. And makes the catch for the out, and the runners hug the bases first and third. 2 down now, and Brooks comes up. Cloninger a stretch. First pitch. Swung on, drilled, 1 hard hop to Perez left side. So in the 6th inning, Baltimore, no runs, a hit, and 2 men left on. At the end of 6 innings of play, Baltimore 7, Cincinnati 3.
Jim Simpson with Jim McIntyre. Baltimore's been trying to put this ball game away, hasn't done it yet. Had the bases loaded with 1 out in the 5th and couldn't get anybody in. And then had 2 men on with 1 out in the 6th with men at 2nd and 3rd and couldn't get anybody in. So they are still nursing a 4-game lead, which is a big lead, of course, because the winning run can never come to the plate as long as it's a 4-game ball. And Mike Cuellar has been simply magnificent since the 1st inning when he gave up 3 runs, the only run Cincinnati scored, and 4 hits, the only hits Cincinnati has had. The last 5 innings, they have had 1 man on base. That is Angel Bravo, who walked. And that is all. McRae, Helms, and Concepcion in the Cincinnati 7th. And here's Jim McIntyre.
Ray doubled in 2 runs in the 1st inning and takes the first pitch high outside, ball 1. Well, I kid you not. This Mr. Cuellar has just looked tremendous. He's retired 16 of the last 17 men facing. McRae foul tips 1, strike 1, 1 ball, 1 strike. You had to figure with the Orioles and the Reds meeting in the World Series that there would be a lot of home runs. And indeed there have been. A change-up curve is low to McRae from Cuellar. Ball 2. 2 balls, 1 strike. Now the wind, 2 and 1 on the way. Popped up, foul. Back of the plate to the left. Echeverria coming back, gets under it, and takes it for the out. 1 out of the 7th inning, and now 17 out of 18 batters Cuellar has put down. You look at Tommy Helms, who was 0 for 2, has grounded to short and popped up to first. Maybe Concepcion will be next. And peeling off his jacket again in the bullpen for the Reds is Ray Washburn. That would seem to indicate a pinch hitter for Cloninger if either Helms or Concepcion get on base. Tommy takes a strike. Screwball is hit the outside part of the plate. Cuellar works. Change up. 2 balls. Beauty. Oh, boy. Cuellar's got it all going right now. No arm problems whatsoever. Helms bounces 1 foul. Left side. Count stays 2 strikes. On deck, Davey Concepcion. 1 out, 7th inning. Reds batting. And the Orioles with a 7-3 lead. Now the pitch. Again, chopped foul, left side. Mike Cuellar, born in Santa Clara, Cuba, lives in Maracaibo, Puerto Rico, has a .298 lifetime earned run average. That's not bad at all. Helms hits a ground ball right side to his left, off his glove. Johnson couldn't come up with it. It caroms out into right field. Frank Robinson in to pick it up. And Helms is on at first base. Now the official scorers will decide on that one. Davey Johnson ranging to his left, got his glove on it, and couldn't come up with it. And they're going to credit Tommy Helms with a base hit. The first hit for the Reds since the 1st inning. That'll bring up the shortstop, Davey Concepcion. None for 2 has popped up and grounded out, hitting it, 2 for 8 in the series. That's .250. And Woody Woodward has come up to the on-deck circle to bat for Tony Cloninger. Concepcion lines the first pitch to right. Robinson coming on, can't get it, takes it on a bounce. Quick throw to second, but not in time. Helms gets there as he had to hold up to see if the ball was going to be caught. And Robinson almost was able to force him. So 2 hits now for the Reds in the 7th. Has put 2 men on. Time called as Echeverria goes out to the mound. And we're going to get some action down in the bullpen for Baltimore. Looks like Dick Hall getting up. Right-hander Dick Hall is throwing in the bullpen. Now Woodward is going to be called back, and Bernie Carbo is going to be sent up to hit for Tony Cloninger. Carbo has not had a hit in the World Series this year. He's been up 7 times in the 3 games he has played, and has not had a hit. He's walked twice and struck out 3 times. Carbo will bat for Cloninger. With Helms at second, Concepcion at first, and 1 man out. Reds trying to come back. Trailing 7-3. Stretch McQuayar and the pitch to Bernie Carbo, a left-handed batter. Swung on and missed, strike 1. Perhaps the best power of anybody on the Reds bench, which is why he's up there now. Swings, it's a bouncer back to the mound. Up with it, Cuellar out to second base to Bellinger. Out. First double play. 1-6-3 double play, and the Orioles retire the Reds in the 7th. No runs, 2 hits, and 1 man left. In the middle of the 7th inning at Baltimore's Memorial Stadium, the Orioles 7 and the Reds 3.
Salem smokers have found the taste most smokers keep searching for. A menthol taste that's always country soft, country fresh. Try Salem, America's largest selling menthol. Just take a puff. It is springtime.
You can take Salem out of the country, but you can't take the country out of Salem.
Along with Jim McIntyre, Jim Simpson back at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore. Ray Washburn, a right-hander, and the 5th pitcher for Cincinnati, strides across the foul line, heading for the mound, and he will pitch to the Baltimore Orioles in the 7th inning. 7-3 the score, and looking ahead for Cincinnati because time is indeed running out. If they do not score at least 4 runs in the next 2 innings, this ball game is all over. But then remember, in the 8th inning yesterday was when lightning struck. The score was 5-3 until Lee May hit that 3-run home run to put Cincinnati in front. And they went on to win their first and only victory of this 1970 World Series. And looking ahead to the 8th inning, Cincinnati in the 8th and 9th innings will get a full shot at getting those runs back because Bobby Tolan, the leadoff man in the Cincinnati lineup, will lead it off in the 8th, and they've got from the top of the batting order on to try to recoup those 4 runs and tie it up. In the meantime, and we don't wish to belabor a point, but it's the way pitchers think, the way managers think, the way baseball people think. At this moment, with a 4-run lead, it is possible that Cincinnati could send the tying run to plate. That would be the man at bat with the bases loaded. But if Baltimore can manage a run, then that can never happen. And that's what the Orioles would love to do in the 7th and 8th, and that is open up that 4-run bulge a little bit more and go on to win their 2nd World Championship since 1966, when they swept the Dodgers 4 in a row. Last year, of course, they lost after winning the first one 4 in a row to the Mets, meaning 5 games altogether. They're trying to win this 5-game set. Davey Johnson, Andy Etchebarren, and Mike Cuellar, who was in a bit of trouble in the top of the inning, will bat here in the last of the 7th. Again, Jim McIntyre.
Well, with the appearance of Ray Washburn, Jim, all of the Cincinnati pitchers who had ever appeared in World Series competition have been on the mound here today. Merritt, Granger, and now Washburn, who started and relieved in 2 World Series with the St. Louis Cardinals. Right-hander works, and it's hit right up back to him. He takes it on 1 hop, knocks it down, picks it up, and throws out Davey Johnson. He made one pitch and gets one man out. That's the first time Johnson has been retired today. One out in the seventh inning, Baltimore, and Etchebarren to the plate. Washburn won 4, lost 4 with the Reds this year. Born in Pasco, Washington, lives in Kirkland right now. Had a .695 earned run average, appeared in 35 games. Wines pitching to Etchebarren, a ball low and outside. He pitched in 4 games for the Cardinals in the 1967 and 1968 series, and won 1 and lost 1. Etchebarren takes again. Outside, ball 2. 2 balls, no strikes. On deck, pitcher Mike Cuellar, and when he walks up toward the plate, you should hear a big round of applause. Washburn into the windup and the pitch. A swing and a miss, strike 1. 2 and 1. Washy is the 5th Cincinnati pitcher of today's 5th game. He's 2 and 1 to Etchebarren and throwing. Ball 3 outside, fastball. 3 balls, 1 strike. Pitch is ball 4. Too high. He walked it. That's the 4th walk of Cincinnati pitchers today. And here's Mike Cuellar and a nice round of applause. Some of the Baltimore fans back of the Baltimore dugout to our left behind third base standing up to applaud Mike. He's deserving of it. That's him left-handed. Washburn's first one. Here's strike 1 call, let it high, inside edge, and Mr. Cuellar did not indicate he was going to bunt. He checks with Billy Hunter at third base again and steps back up. Etchebarren first, 1 man out. Washburn has his signal. It is. He's going to bunt this time and does. Third base side. Picked up by Washburn. Whips it to May in time at first for the out. And on the sacrifice, Etchebarren moves to second. Two down now. Runner on second, and Mark Belanger, who batted in the run with a single to left field in the second inning, 1 for 4, steps up to the plate. Mark will take his time getting set in the batter's box to allow Cuellar to get back to the dugout. Etchebarren at second with a short lead. Washburn gets his sign as Belanger gets set. Washy stretches and throws. A swing and a bouncer off the pitcher's glove. Carams out to Helms. He's up with it. Over to May, and that retires the side. No runs, no hits, no errors. A man who walked left on. At the end of 7, it's the Orioles 7 and the Reds 3.
Hello, I'm Lynn DeRocher. As you probably know, I'm married to Leo DeRocher of baseball fame. And another famous name you'll recognize is Adorn Hairspray. I even carry Adorn with me to the ballpark. It's the only hairspray I've found that holds any hairstyle in place, no matter how hard the infield wind blows, yet holds softly, naturally. Self-styling Adorn, famous for hold. Try it.
Jim Simpson, Baltimore's Memorial Stadium. It was in the 8th inning yesterday that lightning struck. Cincinnati's big red machine finally got rolling in the person of Lee May, who had been doing a lot of hitting, but this time it was a home run with a couple of men on base, and Cincinnati won its first game of the World Series of 1970. But they trail 3 games to 1. If they lose today, and they're losing today 7-3, it is all over. Yesterday, at the beginning of the 8th inning, Earl Weaver didn't have a couple of pitches warming up. He had a total of 3 warming up, knowing that Perez would lead it off, and then Bench, and then May, and he wanted to stay out of trouble. But Perez drew a walk after being down 0-2. Johnny Bench singled him on to third base, and Lee May, as The pitcher, Jim Palmer, went out, and Eddie Watt came in, hit the first pitch from Watt for the home run that won the game. Now, with the 8th inning and the top of Cincinnati's batting order due up, we've got activity in the Baltimore bullpen, and at least one of them out there is Dave Leonard. Bobby Tolan steps up, and also stepping up is Jim McIntyre.
All right, here's Tolan batting left, none for 3, and he bluffed the bunt, took the bat back, and it's a ball too high. Yeah, you're right, Jim. There's a lot of action out there in that Oriole bullpen. Dick Hall gets up and joins Dave Leonard, and left-hander Pete Rickard is also there. They got 3 of them going. Tolan hits a very high fly to center field. Blair races in, still coming, gets under it, and takes it for the out. 1 down in the 8th inning for the Cincinnati Reds, and Pete Rose steps in with a double and 3 at-bats. He's grounded out and flied out to right field. He'll be followed by Tony Perez. Cuellar. Into the windup. First pitch to Rose. Swung on. Ground ball. It's short. Belanger plays it. Up with it. Over to Powell. 2 down. Ball is hit sharply, but right at Belanger. They're 2 out in the Cincinnati 8th, and here's Perez. Tony has hit it hard twice. He fried high to left in the first, line to Rettenman in left field in the 3rd inning, and Belanger made a leaping one-handed stab of a hard-hit line drive in the 6th. He takes a ball a little bit high. On deck, Johnny Bench, and then will come Lee May. 7-3, Baltimore, 8th inning. Cuellar delivers. Swung on and popped up. In the middle of the diamond. Shortstop Belanger behind the mound. Takes it, and that's all for the Reds in the 8th. Nothing across. In the middle of the 8th inning in Baltimore, it's the Orioles 7, the Reds 3.
Well, I've known and talked to a lot of great ball players over the years, and there's one thing they all seem to have in common: tenacity. Yes, sir. They all know how to hang in there when the going gets tough. Now, there's something else that literally hangs in there. STP oil treatment. STP actually clings to vital engine parts. Lubricates better than motor oil alone. With winter on deck, that could be very important to you. You see, ordinary motor oil drains off vital engine parts when your car sits overnight. So on cold mornings, it's mostly metal against metal in your engine, which really makes it tough on your engine and battery. But STP stays up on engine parts all night. So in the morning, you've got all the extra lubrication you need to help you start fast. And then STP goes to work to keep you running smoother, quieter, longer. So the next time you fill up, have your local service station add STP oil treatment to your car. It's the same racer's edge leading race drivers and millions of motorists depend on. So use it yourself soon. It'll help you get the edge on winter. We pause 30 seconds for station identification.
All the good things, the beautiful things, the sweet things come from the sun, including Saratoga ginger ale. We use only ginger straight from Jamaica, one of the sunniest places there is. Saratoga ginger ale. It's like opening a bottle of sunshine. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. It's all right.
WGY, Schenectady, New York.
Jim Simpson with Jim McIntyre. At Baltimore, we're in the last of the 8th inning. The Orioles leading 7-3, and they've got the heart of their lineup coming up. They face Ray Washburn and Paul Blair, Frank Robinson, and Boog Powell. And this World Series might be ending soon. Who knows? Here's Jim.
Blair takes a strike call on the outside corner. Blair's 2 for 3 today. 2 singles. Struck out and walked. Scored once, batted in one. Right-hand hitter. Well, he flashed a sign on the scoreboard out here, the message board. It could be prophetic. Next home game, Wednesday, April 7th, Orioles versus Senator. You must know that's the opening game for Baltimore in 1971. Looks like it might start raining at any time. 7-3 Baltimore. Here's the pitch. Swinging a slow grounder, wide of third, cracking the hole up with it, Concepcion, but he's too late at first for the throw. Frank Robinson. 1 for 4, a home run in the first inning with a man on. That was Blair. Takes ball 1, high outside, a slider. Now the stretch and the pitch and a ball too low. Nobody warming up in the Reds bullpen at the moment. But just now, Clay Carroll gets to his feet. 2 balls, no strikes to Robinson. Blair leads. Here's the pitch. Swinging a ground ball into right field in the first hit. Hurrying in Rose, and Blair will hold at second on the throw toward third. Robinson with a ground single to right as Luke Powell strolls up. Clay Carroll, who was the winner yesterday after going 3 2/3 of one-hit pitching and got the victory in the Reds 6-5 win, told me before the game today that, yes, he could pitch an inning or get a man if he was needed. Washburn's first pitch, Powell takes a call, strike 1. Off-speed curveball. Big Boog has a single and a double, and 1 run scored. Robinson at first, Blair at second. Nobody out. Orioles 8th inning. They now have 14 hits. Here's the pitch to Powell. Slow curve low. 1 ball, 1 strike. The Baltimore bullpen is quiet. Powell, a mountain of a man. Waiting. Washburn's pitch. Swung on a ground ball to first. Back of the bag. Lee May falls down. Helms picks it up. Throws to the pitcher covering for the out at first. And on the plate, Blair comes on around and scores. Time called. There's going to be an argument at first base with him at Ashford, who called Powell out from May to Helms, who picked up the ball as May backed up and got his feet tangled up and fell down. Helms picked it up, underhanded it to Washburn, who made the play at first base. And then Blair just kept on pedaling around third and didn't even stop. And the Orioles have an 8-3 lead. Blair just kept on going. He rounded third, slowed down just a moment, and just kept right on coming. Make that play from 3 to 4 to 1. And that is a mighty big run. Here is Marv Ruttman, right-hand batter. First pitch, runner at second. He hits a high fly foul out of play, right side. Jim, did they say they're going to give Boog Powell a run batted in?
Haven't heard a word, and I would imagine that they would not on an infield hit, but I'll check on it.
They may give him a run batted in on that. Runner at second, Robinson leads as Washburn gets a fastball up to Ruttman, and it's 1 ball, 1 strike. The Orioles have played a mighty big run in the 8th inning. Washburn gets his sign. Robinson leads away at second. Pitch comes to Ruttman, a ball high outside, a slider. Carroll warms up for Cincinnati. Frank Robinson leads at second. 1 man out. Here's the pitch. Ball 3, high outside. He's 3-1 now. They do give Boog Powell a run batted in on that play that went from May to Helms to Washburn. So that's Boog Powell's 5th run batted in of the 1970 series. 3 balls, 1 strike to Ruttman. Now the pitch. Ball 4, very high. Robinson is out of the Reds dugout. Brooks Robinson is the reason for the crowd cheering. 2 runners on with 1 out in the 8th inning. And Sparky just might go to the bullpen for Clay Carroll. Yes, he is. So, Clay Carroll, who won yesterday's game, is called on to relieve today and get the last 2 Oriole outs in the 8th.
The score now is 8-3, and once again, as in the first and second games of this World Series, it was Cincinnati that broke on top. They were out in front 3-0 in the first game and lost it 4-3. Then they broke out to a 4-0 lead in the second game, and Cincinnati fans at Riverfront Stadium thought, well, we're going to even the series. But Baltimore fought back. Today, they broke out 3-0, trying to go back to Cincinnati with the 6th game of the World Series. Baltimore stormed back and now leads 8-3, and here is the hero of the series for Baltimore, Brooks Robinson. Jim?
All right, Clay Carroll, who was the winner yesterday, wants to call time and do a little gardening out in front of the rubber to plant his foot before he faces Brooks Robinson. 1 for 4 today, a single. First pitch to him. Swung on a high fly down the left field line, twisting, curving, and it's going to be fouled out of play. Hey, a fan made a nice catch leaning over the railing down there, and he has a 1970 World Series souvenir. 1 strike to Robinson. On deck, Dave Johnson. Carroll, the 6th pitcher used by Sparky Anderson in an effort to stem the Orioles in Game 5. Takes his stretch. Now, as his pitch is swung on and missed, strike 2 and a good fastball. I imagine that fastball fooled Brooks Robinson a little bit. Clay had a lot behind that one. He's 0-2 and firing. Swung on, foul back. Well, little did I realize that when I asked Clay about pitching today, and I don't think he realized it, that he would be called on. 0-2. Robinson checks a swing on a breaking pitch in the dirt, blocked by Finch. The runners hold. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 8 runs, 14 hits for the Orioles, and they're still at bat. 3 runs, 6 hits for the Reds, and they got 4 of those 6 hits in the first inning. 1-2 to Brooks is foul back. Bounced it behind the plate. Robinson throughout this series has been the picture of concentration. Like he is making every effort to excel, which he has certainly done. Now the pitch to him. Strike 3 called. He took a fastball when he was looking for something else. He's called out on strikes, and despite the strikeout, listen to the crowd. Standing ovation for Brooks Robinson, who goes back to the dugout after being called out on strikes. That's how much they love Brooks in Baltimore. All right, Dave Johnson at the plate now, 2 out and 2 men on. And here's Carroll with his first offering. He missed with it outside, ball 1. Johnson has singled and doubled, batted in 1 run, scored once. He's 2 for 3 on the day and 4 for 15 in the series. Clay ready and throwing. Swung and hit up the middle into center. That's a hit. Here's Frank Robinson heading around third. He'll score, and the Orioles lead 9-3. Scored by Frank Robinson is charged to Ray Washburn. That's the 15th Baltimore hit. The 3rd for Dave Johnson. And brings up Andy Etchebarren, the catcher. Etchebarren 1 for 2 and walked twice, once intentionally. Fouls away the first pitch, strike 1. Well, if you're a Cincinnati fan, you want to look ahead to the ninth inning for the Reds. Bench, May, and McRae are due up in that order, with a 6-run mountain to climb over. Carroll to the belt. Pitching to Echeverria. A curve, swing and a miss, strike 2. Nothing in 2. Baltimore's bullpen stirs into action again. Here's the pitch. A curve outside for a ball. 1 ball, 2 strikes. A light sprinkle of rain. A few drops has begun to fall. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Echeverria. Carroll from the belt. Here it is. Swinging a grounder foul past first. Dick Hall, a right-hander, and Pete Rickard, a left-hander, are warming up for Baltimore. The Reds' bullpen is quiet. The stretch, the 1 and 2 is ball 2, and a ball bounces away from bench, and the runners stay where they are.
That's twice in this latter stages of this game, Jim, that a ball has bounced away from bench, and on many catchers, many of those Baltimore runners would go, but in deference to that great arm, they're just staying right there, not even bluffing.
Well, you have to know that Johnny's reputation, of course, is well known. And he does have an extremely strong arm and extremely accurate. Carroll is set now, 2 balls, 2 strikes, pitching to Echeverria. And did he or didn't he? Billy Williams says no, and the first base umpire says yes. And so Echeverria strikes out. No, 2 runs in the inning on 1, 2, 3 hits. 2 men were left on. And at the end of 8 innings in Baltimore in Game 5 of the 1970 World Series, it's the Orioles 9, the Reds 3.
The drivers know. Ask them why the compacts from Chrysler Corporation are the most popular of all domestic-built compacts.
Unibody construction.
Torsion bar suspension. Better handling.
Slam 6 engine or V8. Economy and performance.
Space for people and packages.
More trunk space. Concealed spare tire. Keyless door locking.
Acrylic enamel finish. An easy bright shine. More colors to choose from.
Bonded brake lighting.
Many options.
Torque flight automatic transmission.
FX or bench seat.
Sedans, hardtops, or coupe body styles.
Cassette tape stereo system. Chrysler Corporation cars.
Chrysler Corporation compacts. Dart and Demon from Dodge. Valiant, Duster, and Scamp from Plymouth.
Chrysler Corporation cars.
Extra care in engineering. Extra value. Extra worth. The drivers know because Chrysler Corporation is always on the driver's side, giving you the kind of car you want at the price you want to pay.
Along with Jim McIntyre, Jim Simpson back at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore. 9 runs, 15 hits, no errors for the Orioles. Only 3 runs. They got them all in the first inning. 6 hits and no errors for the Reds. Mike Cuellar has gone to the mound to an ovation. Johnny Bench, Lee May, and Hal McRae are due up. The Baltimore bullpen is in action, but Mike Cuellar knows that he just wants to throw strikes. Let the fellas go ahead and hit. He has got a 6-run bulge and lots of help out there in the bullpen. Now you begin to wonder if we are indeed. And it certainly looks that way, watching the final game of the 1970 World Series. Yesterday, Baltimore was just 6 outs away from a 4-game sweep, and they didn't get it. Today, they are 3 outs away from the 1970 World Championship.
Mike allowed 4 hits, 2 doubles in the first inning, 3 doubles, 1 by Rose, 1 by May, 1 by McRae, but he's been great since then. He gave up harmless singles to Tommy Helms and Dave Concepcion in the 7th, and that's the only hits the Reds have since the first. Bench pulls it. A diving catch at third base by Brooks Robinson. A low liner, and Robinson dived across the line to spear back at it. Robinson already has that car given to the most valuable player. If he didn't have just unbelievable. Nobody can play third base like that.
Nobody has until Brooks Robinson.
That's right. Cuellar acts like a man in a hurry. 1-2, the count to May. One out, ninth inning. 9-3 Orioles. Fifth game. Here's the pitch. Struck him up with a straight curveball. That's the fourth strikeout for Cuellar. And if Hal McRae, no, it's going to be Pat Corrales. Corrales is the only member of the Cincinnati Reds among the regulars, except for pitcher, who has not appeared in the World Series, and he's going to be up to the plate right here. Here is a special announcement. Brooks Robinson has been named the winner of the 16th Annual Sport Magazine World Series Award as the outstanding player.
Well, you really surprised me.
Yeah. That's a big surprise, isn't it? It had to be. Pat Corrales coming up to bat. Pat's the only Reds player not to have appeared in the 70 series. Pat's right-handed, hit .263 on the year, and he faces Cuellar with 2 down in the ninth. It's a ground ball to third. Brooks Robinson has it. The foul, the Orioles win.
The final score of the fifth and final game of the World Series is Baltimore 9, Cincinnati 3. And I'm looking down at the diamond, and the people are crowding on the field. And actually, after that elation, but they knew it 9-3 going to the ninth that they'd won it, the crowd has calmed down quite a bit. Well, I'm sure that Earl Weaver and his Baltimore Orioles are saying we have vindicated ourselves for last year's 5-game loss to the New York Mets after we won the first game, and we were the team that was supposed to win. But Sparky Anderson, who has just impressed everyone in this World Series and throughout his first year as a manager in the National League, has one true thing that he can say to his Cincinnati Reds and that is, I'm proud of you fellas. You did a great job all year. You've got nothing to be ashamed of. And here's the voice of the Cincinnati Reds for a few comments, Jim McIntyre.
Thank you very much, Jim. First of all, let me tell you personally, and Lynn Dillon, our producer, what a tremendous pleasure it's been for me to sit alongside you in the broadcast booth for the 1970 series. I only hope we're here again next year. I must say this, Jim, that the Reds, I'm not making an excuse, merely a statement of fact. The Reds now, and even for the last half of the season, were not the same club that ran away from the rest of the clubs in the National League West. When the Reds won 70 of their first 100 games, they had a healthy Jim Merritt, a sound Wayne Simpson, and an uninjured Jim McLaughlin. Of course, 2 of those 3 weren't even in the series picture, where pitching is more the name of the game. It was these 3, Merritt, McLaughlin, and Simpson, along with Gary Nolan, that got the Reds out of the gate and off to an insurmountable lead. And even though they struggled through the last 62 games, playing just over 500, they still found enough pitching to take the Pirates in the pennant. But Baltimore, I'll tell you, Baltimore, a bird of a different color. The Orioles are a mighty fine team, and they just put it all together for 170 games this year, and they went about the business of winning the brass ring much more seriously, I think, than they did last fall. And this is certainly not meant to downgrade the Mets' victory of 69. They had the big thing the Reds lacked this year, and that was great pitching. So my hat is off to the Baltimore Orioles. They reigned supreme in baseball for 1970. And as for the Reds, they're young, and you know they just have to come back, and maybe it'll be soon. We'll continue with the highlights of today's World Series game in just a moment.
Winston tastes good, like a cigarette should, as a cigarette should. Well, here's what my computer has to say. What do you want? Good grammar or good taste? What do you want? Good grammar or good taste? Pardon our grammar, but Winston tastes good like a cigarette should. That's a smart computer.
Baltimore Baltimore's fifth game, the final game of the series, won on a line score of 9 runs, 15 hits, no errors for the Orioles. But, of course, the winning pitcher, Mike Cuellar, what a job he did. 3 runs, 6 hits, no errors for Cincinnati. Members of the retail clerks unions vote by secret ballot to approve agreements with their employers. As union members, they have a voice in determining their conditions of employment. To every adult American, the right to vote is valuable because when you cast your secret ballot, you have a voice in determining the quality of the government of your country. Be sure to vote November 3rd. This message from the Retail Store Employees Union in your community, chartered by the Retail Clerks International Association, Washington, D.C., 20006. Final score today, 9-3. To go back to the first game, of course, it was won 4-3, and like today, in that first game of the series that opened last Saturday in Cincinnati, Baltimore was down by the score 3-0 and came back to win it 4-3. Jim Palmer, the winner. In the second game, Baltimore was down 4-0. Came back to win it 6-5 with Tom Phoebus, the second of 5 pitchers, the winner there, with Dick Hall doing a fine job over the last 2 1/3 innings. And then in game number 3, Cloninger started, but he was bested by McNally in a 9-3 ball game in which Dave became the first World Series pitcher ever to hit a grand slam home run. Yesterday, the day at last belonged to Cincinnati. They were down 5-3 in the 8th, but with 2 men on, Eddie Watt came in and Lee May lined a home run to take us on to the 5th game. Today, Cincinnati jumped out in front of Mike Cuellar, but thereafter he only gave up 2 hits. All 3 runs he gave up was in the first inning. Baltimore came back with 2 on Robinson's home run in the first inning, got 2 more knocked in by Belanger in Blair in the second, and were never headed. Final score 9-3. We pause 30 seconds for station identification.
It is as natural for birds to fly as puppies to bark, as babies to coo, as bees to stay busy, as girls to love carousels, as it is for Saratoga Vichy's natural bubbles to fizz. Good tasting, great mixing, Saratoga Vichy. Mother Nature's little bubble act.
WGY, Schenectady, New York.
Simpson with Jim McIntyre, and most of the fans have now begun to leave the stadium. A few are milling around. We'll continue with more highlights of today's game in just a moment. This 1970 World Series marks the windup of a long, tough season. These players had to stay in shape for 162 grueling regular season contests and still be up for this series. And it takes great conditioning to maintain that peak performance. The car's engine has a similar problem. You expect peak performance from your car mile after mile, year after year, under all kinds of conditions. That's why your engine needs the regular conditioning you can now get from new improved STP gasoline treatment. New improved STP gas treatment cleans your spark plugs better and cleans your carburetor better. New improved STP gas treatment actually cleans and tunes your engine as you drive. Keeps those harmful deposits of carbon from building up in the first place. So to keep your car's engine in shape every season of the year, have your service station add new improved STP gas treatment whenever you fill up. That's new improved STP gasoline treatment. You'll feel the difference. Now, one of the big differences, of course, has been the play of Brooks Robinson, who has won the Cars the outstanding player in the 1970 World Series. Cincinnati, as Jim McIntyre said, came in not with the pitching that won them the pennant. Baltimore came in with 3 20-game winners. McNally, a 24-game winner, was a winner in the series. Also, Mike Cuellar, today's winner, 24-game winner during the regular season. And Jim Palmer, 20-game winner, took that first game. So pitching paid off, plus the glove and the bat of Brooks Robinson, Boog Powell, Frank Robinson, Davy Johnson, so many others. But Baltimore's Orioles have vindicated themselves from last year's loss to the New York Mets by a score 4 games to 1. And how they wanted to do it over this last year. For Earl Weaver and all of the Baltimore Orioles, we offer our congratulations from our NBC broadcast booth and to Sparky Anderson and the Cincinnati Reds. Well, they did their best. They did a great deal in 1970 to win the National League pennant. And as Mickey Mantle sat right here and said yesterday, I think they'll be back next year. Our producer has been Len Dillon. Our engineer, Dave Nolan from WRC in Washington. A word here, my personal thanks to Jim McIntyre of the Cincinnati Reds for his work with me here in Baltimore. And, of course, to Chuck Thompson of the Baltimore Orioles, their broadcaster, for his fine work over in Cincinnati. This is Jim Simpson saying goodbye from Memorial Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. The final score once again in the fifth and final game of the World Series. Baltimore 9, Cincinnati 3. Baltimore wins the series 4 games to 1. This has been an NBC Radio Network production.